And that's why they call me the goat shagger. I haven't been able to shake that nickname ever since. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
makes
It's just
a
one
lot
of
of
those
sense.
things. Probably
If
with
the
me for the
shoe
rest of my life, to be honest.
I've actually got some news for you as well.
Right.
I actually made an accounting error when I sent you the proposal. You would have seen the figure, and I know you're already on the payment plan, but actually there's a clerical error. And so I need to correct that. The bill will now be £336,000. Is that okay?
That's a hell of a clerical error.
Yeah.
I didn't. You're not a government services provider, are you? Who's just sort of.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I only discovered it when I saw that the UK government had also had the same sort of error. So whoops, sorry.
Yeah,
but look, when we're making major logo updates, £332,000 to simply change the color of a dot and move it up a little bit makes sense.
No, excuse me, that is disrespectful to your own craft, Carly. They also made the dot a little bit bigger.
They did. Forgive me, they did.
So
I think that is accurate pricing, and therefore I'm going to have to re-invoice you. So you now owe me $300,000.
I have no problem with that as long as you send the invoice to the same place that they sent the invoice to. All right, send it off to the UK, and we're good. All right.
Yeah. £300,000. What's that? Like almost $1 million? Was it?
No,
it's
pretty much 2 for 1. Call it 2 for 1. It's about $600,000.
Yeah, it's nothing to be sneezed at, is it?
I mean, look, I'll take 2, thanks. That's
I can't even buy a house for that, but it gives me a bit of a deposit.
I mean, am I right or am I right? Now, Katie's a little confused. Did I miss the start, or are we joining in mid-conversation? Yeah, it's called a soft open. We like to have a bit of fun with our openings. That was. I hope you appreciated coming in mid-story on that one. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
fair point. We're ourselves. We could buy a machete bin, so that's money well spent.
Correct. Now, people are saying, "Oh, we must have already started." No. You guys in the comments had kicked off. I mean, you guys had kicked off because we got Jawa Trader. Geez, I'm early. Only 72 minutes to go. Daylight saving time yet to be changed. No, listen, Lindsay, you can blame daylight savings time if you showed up an hour late. You showing up an hour before the show had even started, that's all you. That's doubly you. All right. Now you're going to have to explain.
Amanda, hang on a second. Amanda, how dare you accuse us of such things? We're such serious people.
We would never do such a thing. Never. Now, Carly, you replied to this, and it seems as though you know what this is about. I have no freaking idea what this is about. What are we talking about?
Spice up your life, every boy, every girl. Spice up your life, people of the world. Spice up your life.
Okay.
Slam it to the left.
I already felt old. I already felt old before this episode started. Stop making me feel older.
Bro, it's the Spice Girls. Where you been?
Okay. Is that like paprika, cayenne?
Wow, this is embarrassing even for you, bro. Who was your first crush? I've told the scene about Top Gun, the volleyball scene. That's how I knew I wasn't gay. What was it for you that made you go, women, shwing?
Oh.
Did anyone get that reference? Shwing.
That is, everyone got that reference. I'm just choosing to ignore it.
Do you know what it's from? Culturally bankrupt man that you are?
Is that not? It is one of the. I know the comedian. I can see his face. He did the mask.
Don't tell him who it is.
He did the mask. He did. And do I just need to scroll down to the bottom of the comments? Do I?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I wasn't going to get that. I've never seen that actually.
Are you guys? No. Guys, you know how people have book clubs, right? I got another one. We're going to have culture club where we will all give Topher culture, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to watch movies. We're going to listen to music and bring him up to speed. Okay.
As long as you do not include in culture Swifties. Can we have just a no Swifties rule for this episode? No Swifties.
I am going to break every bit of legislation around Taylor Swift. We have to talk about this. Have to.
Seriously?
I didn't bring up Scatfield.
Okay. Listen. You've been embargoed. You're not allowed to bring up Scatfield. I might have to do that.
Did you ever play Doom?
Doom, as in the original Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, great game. See, no, I've got an idea for our first birthday. Like, we'll do a podcast, but then we all like play Super Nintendo afterwards or something.
There's going to be literally hundreds of people in the room. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be
how many Super Nintendos are you going
to? How many are you going to get your hands on? All right, listen. Are you dead set that you're going to talk about Swiftie?
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
you have to.
Because,
you have to, and you'll appreciate it.
I came prepared. I am ready. I am ready for an extended conversation about Taylor Swift. I have my armor ready to go.
No, we need to set the record. G, look at me. Look at me.
Look at me.
Topher brought this up. Topher brought it up, not me. Topher, what did you ask me?
Can I revise? Can I regret?
Which one?
Yeah.
Are we going to go?
All of it. Can I just revise everything after everything that I've ever said since I said wah, wah, wah? Can I just revise the whole lot, please? That'd be great.
What did you say to me before we went live?
I believe Shatfield came up.
And what did you tell me?
I regret this so much that she's getting sued.
Who is she being sued by?
Oh, her former best friend, who she called like a genocidal neo-Nazi something or other because he believed that Israel should be able to defend itself or something like that. I don't know. The details are lost to the sands of time. Can we let it go? Just
so everyone knows, he brought it up. All right. And what else did you report to me? What was your last text message to me?
Honestly, how long ago did I last send you a text message?
Before I sent you one. Your text message, just for the record, everyone, so you can see it. That was what Topher sent me.
Guys, I'm sorry. I've had a bad day. I've been off my game today. I'm sorry.
It's not just me. So just so you guys know, Topher and I don't actually speak. We just exchange screenshots. And this one, before we go, wait a damn minute. G's comment. Wait a damn minute. You found a loophole in my Skype. Yeah, right. Like a true libertarian.
Yes.
Before we get into these morally bankrupt individuals, I had to have a chuckle with this. You guys may have seen this shared. So the conversation is a bit like crikey. They're quite progressive. Is that right?
Yeah.
So this says, if you've noticed, Australia's roads are worse for wear, you're not alone. Extreme weather and climate change are already taking their toll. Intense rain, landslides, and potholes everywhere. How climate change is trashing Australia's roads. It couldn't be a lack of maintenance. It must be climate change.
And it couldn't be the fact that the state has run out of money. I'm getting unconfirmed reports. I haven't been able to actually verify these, independently, but I'm getting people in my messages, in my emails, telling me that the Victorian government has fallen months behind on contractor payments, that there are, in one particular account, a police station, this person claims to have intimate knowledge of a situation at a police station where they can't actually get their rubbish picked up because the police station is so far behind on its skip fees, essentially, for getting its own rubbish picked up. There seem to be a lot of anecdotes happening, and I can't verify them. I don't have access to the invoices, obviously, but there seems to be a lot going on that says Victoria be bankrupt and may have already stopped paying some of its bills. And nothing says bankrupt like 1/4 of your roads. This is according to a recent road safety survey. 1/4 of Victoria's roads are rated in their lowest category for the worst condition.
I reckon, we've told you the story about how his rim exploded coming back from the Yarra Valley. You obviously had that experience too, but that pothole or that collection of potholes that you showed us that was off the Hume, was it? That was on an overpass off the
Hume. Yeah.
That's actually super dangerous. If you hit that with a small car, at speed, you'd be in
Or a
serious trouble.
motorbike. It's amazing we haven't had some motorcyclists be killed. And you know what? I just posted up a screenshot. There's some people coming out saying now that we need to cut all country roads and all roads down to 80. Basically, 100 kilometers an hour will only exist on highways, essentially. And their argument is because the road toll is up. To which I say, well, how about we have a look at how many people are currently being killed by crashes caused by the condition of the roads and by crashes related to the crime spree. Once we delete those, I think you'll find the road tolls doing just fine.
Hang on, here we go. Katie just shared this. I was at a bakery today and read a paper, old days, and apparently one of the road updates hasn't been completed because a cultural assessment needs to be done due to 2 indigenous plants.
Yeah.
Katie, I'd just rather you kick me in the face at this point.
Can I volunteer? Is that okay? I'm happy to do it. No, I mean those indigenous plants need to be dried and smoked because whoever it is that's making these decisions is clearly absolutely high off their nut. This is just beyond ridiculous.
I'm going to give you an unpopular opinion, although I feel like you'll agree with me. I'm like, bring it on. Keep laying it down thick. The more Jacinta Allen doubles down and goes and spooks the suburban rail loop and talks about how the machete bins are working, the more she does it, the better. I say double down, triple down, really drive that knife in.
How's this for a segue? Okay, listen, I 100% agree with you. I want stupid people to say stupid stuff in public. There is nothing better as far as I'm concerned than me realizing that if I just keep my mouth shut for long enough, I'm going to win the argument by default. Right. Yes. I am so happy when that happens, which is why I'm so pissed off that Meta have deplatformed our dearly, dearly beloved Clementine Ford.
The show.
I'm genuinely pissed off about this. She is the greatest advertisement against feminism, and taking her off these platforms is actually helping her cause, and that really, really annoys me.
I'm on the same page as you. I'm like, I'd rather these people where we can see them so we can publicly humiliate them. You know how I feel about shame. I'm like, let's laugh at them. The more unhinged she was, the better it was. Like, because, and this is going to tie into my Swifties comment. This is a great segue because I'm ready. I'm geared up.
We're doing this already, are we?
Yeah, we're doing it. We're going deep. Like, guys, get your snorkels. We're going deep down into this one.
That's probably, I don't love that expression in relation to Taylor Swift. But anyway, moving on.
She's not Bonnie Blue, bro. Like, we're not diving deep in that.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah.
So actually, just on Bonnie Blue, does anyone in the chat listen to Chris Williams?
Are we playing a bingo game, collecting all of the most obnoxious women that we possibly can, all in one day?
Yes. No. Does anyone listen to Modern Wisdom, the podcast with Chris Williamson?
It's a good podcast, yeah.
It's a really good podcast, and it shocked me. I cannot believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, and you will be shocked too. He had Bonnie Blue, and I can't remember who the conservative woman was. And dude, I'm not lying. She came across incredibly articulate, and she is exactly the poster girl the feminists or fourth wave feminists wanted. And like, I you know how I feel about Bonnie Blue. I actually was like, this woman knows exactly what she's doing. She's not stupid. No. She's actually very switched on. I know you're all like, Carly, what are you talking about? No. She's quite articulate. And I listened to that whole podcast and I was like, power to you. I think it's disgusting and I don't like what she does. But as a libertarian, I'm like, hey, man, do whatever the fuck you want. But
she's just playing the game.
100%. It was a great podcast. And she made a point, right? And actually, and I dig this point that she made. She was talking about gold diggers, and the conservative commentator, I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially she was saying that how do you differ from a woman who is, young and attractive, and she uses sex to grab a man who's wealthy? Because Bonnie Blue could have done that instead of doing OnlyFans. And Bonnie's response, again, I'm paraphrasing, was that she would argue that the gold digger is more of a sex worker than she is, because Bonnie's in control of what she does and she can stop and leave anytime she wants. Whereas the gold digger, the second she stops or withholds sex, the man will go on to the next one. So she sort of like has to continually prostitute herself out. And they sort of talked about it a bit more. And I was like, well, shit. Yes, I agree. I was like,
okay, but that's also the difference between a relationship and a transaction, because in a relationship you have to continue showing up. I mean, if a dude said, "Oh well, if I stop paying the bills and going to work, she'd ditch me for some other guy," well, that's a relation. That's taking on responsibility. When you go into a relationship with someone, you get what that relationship offers, but you also shoulder the responsibilities that you have towards the other person in that relationship. A relationship's an exclusive arrangement. What you're agreeing to is we're gonna exclude all other options, and I'm just going to come to you for these things. And that includes sex and physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, and deep conversation. That includes financial security, etc. You're going to turn to each other for all of those things. That's what makes it a relationship. So what Bonnie Blue has basically said is, because I can stop making transactions anytime I want, I'm better than someone who's actually got a relationship. Well, I'm sorry, I don't think that argument actually holds.
Okay. It was just a really interesting conversation. And anyway, that was a little segue.
Yeah.
But this brings me to the Taylor Swift thing. Now, for the record, guys, I am not a Swiftie.
Wait, I'm not ready. Hang on.
If you guys know what I'm about to talk about in the chat, like, pop off, because I have been down this rabbit hole for the last couple of hours. So my best mate is a Swiftie, and I knew that there was a new album coming out, and she was really excited. And she said to me, Chain of Ponds. Where is that
Not
from?
sponsored, but Chain of Ponds. If you want to sponsor us, let me know.
So anyway, long story, album comes out, right? And this is like a Swiftie Christmas Day, some shit. So I messaged Sally this morning. I'm like, all right, are you, because her album covers teal and blue or something, teal and orange. And I said, are your ears bleeding teal and orange yet? And she's like, I need you to grab a coffee and sit down. We need to have a chat. And I was like, oh shit. All right. And so she calls me and she proceeds to tell me what is happening with Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift is now MAGA. She is now a white supremacist, and she is a Trojan horse to the reprisal of fascism in America.
Sorry, according to whom?
Taylor Swift fans. Taylor Swift is having her let them eat cake moment, and she is about to get guillotined. Well, sorry, she currently has been guillotined by her own fan base.
Are we sure that we're talking about Taylor Swift and pop culture, or are we talking about Days of Our Lives? Because that is a plot twist I did not see coming.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. It is, I'm not one for gossip, but I'm not going to lie. I am not above this. I am in there. I am petty. I am watching all the reels and all the fucking stupid TikToks.
Stop lying to yourself. You love a bit of gossip.
Yeah, true. When it's not about me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fair. Okay, so is this because of is this the lyrics and stuff that's done this?
Yeah. So long story short, like you know how there's that whole Justin Bell Downey, Blake Lively thing, and we've talked about this a lot, right? Like, not to keep hammering the same drum. We know that feminism is collapsing, but her boyfriend Travis Kelce, he's a football player, and prior to that, she was dating some English bloke. And to be fair, she was with that English guy for a while, like 6 years or something. And she wrote these. I'm just paraphrasing Swiftie talk, so I actually don't know what I'm talking about right now. I'm literally just reiterating what I had learned today. But anyway, under that relationship with the English guy, she did all her sort of more folky, more heartfelt, lyrical sort of songs, right? And this new one is much more pop music. It's much more like jovial and fun. And I need to give you this context so that you can understand how Taylor Swift is now a white supremacist. And so her boyfriend, Kelce, he is literally the football player. I don't know what position or where he plays, but he does the football thing.
He's a superstar player.
Yeah. But he's also Mr. Pfizer. He's the guy that took the Pfizer check, right? And his best mate is a Trump fan. And I can't remember, the Mahones. And Brittany Mahones is a big fan of Trump too. And I think they're close with the family, right? I'm, again, paraphrasing. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. Anyway, Taylor is really friendly with the Mahones because Travis and the other dude are friends, right? Yeah. But her Swifties, her fan base are not okay with this. So they vet who Taylor's allowed to date, and they vet who Taylor's allowed to be friends with, right? Because
that's how being a fan works. You get to control the person that you're a fan of 100%.
well, this is the left, right? Like once you're in the cult, they deem what's appropriate. So
Yeah.
that was what sort of started it, right? So she's hanging out with these Mahones people who are, lefty. Sorry, no, not lefties. They're MAGA supporters.
Yeah, MAGAs. Yeah.
Anyway, so Taylor goes on to her boyfriend's podcast, and it's a football podcast, and announces the album, and she gets engaged the next week. And so this signals the beginning of the end, right? So she's dating a masculine man. She's getting engaged.
Terrible.
And Taylor Swift, can you believe it, has the audacity to put in a song that she wants to get married and punch out some kids. And that is what makes her a white supremacist. That is propaganda.
She's gone. Who knew? Of all of the people, you know what? Okay, it could be worse. She could have started making sourdough. I'm just saying.
To be honest, the sourdough, the gateway drug to right-wing extremism, is actually quite delicious. So it's not a bad way to do it.
They say join the dark side because we have cookies. I say join the libertarian side because we have sourdough bread and we win. Laura Schlegel,
Sorry,
you go.
I literally have my boyfriend downstairs stretching my sourdough. One is for you, by the way.
Oh, lovely. I do hope that that's a literal sourdough. When you said stretching your sourdough, I was like, what figure of speech could this be? If one of them is for me, I really hope it's literal. Laura Schlegel, I really appreciate you changing your profile picture to match the topic of conversation. That was really, really well played. Really well done there. I was in the US for the Super Bowl, where they got plastered all over the screens. I was at, I'm just going to name drop a little bit here, Kevin Sorbo, Hercules' house, watching the Super Bowl. And that was the year when they showed up and Travis's team won and blah, 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 a little fairy tale moment for them. But it was just eye-rollingly repetitive how often they would cut back to Taylor Swift up in the VIP box up there. And of course she had her nauseating little friends and all the rest. That was when she was still doing this kind of hardcore lefty kind of thing. She was, borderline heading down that Sam Smith kind of path for a little while there. I thought she was going to follow down that path, and thankfully she hasn't. Look, I have enjoyed some Taylor Swift music over the years. She's done a couple of really amazing earworms. I really enjoyed the "It's Me, I'm the Problem, It's Me," and that whole the video clip with the funeral and everything. Like, that was fun. I really, really enjoyed that. So, and I've enjoyed some of her music. Would I enjoy a brighter, more poppy Taylor Swift? I don't know. I guess I'll have to listen and find out and see whether I'm going to add her to my Spotify because I've entered the 21st century or not.
I'm a bit like that. So I'll tell you my only correlation to Taylor Swift. I'm indifferent, right? Like, I don't like her, not like her. I am literally downstairs stretching sourdough. Hey, you get to eat it. So when I bought my Jeep, I made because I was so excited, right? The Jeep has the roof come off it and all that. And I bought it for my birthday, which is in summer. And so before I got it, I made this little playlist of songs that I thought would be fun to drive with when the roof's off. And the first one, so Dexter's song is Dead Mouse's The Veldt, if anyone knows that song, my favorite song of all time. But then Taylor Swift had released, I think it's called Style, and it's just a super boppy song. And so I had this really beautiful connection to that song just because it reminds me of this summer, I got the car, whatever. And so that's the only thing I know about Taylor Swift. Other than that, totally indifferent. I've called her out on some stuff because I think a lot of her political takes are ill-informed. But the reason, am I a Mouse fan? Yes, big Mouse fan. But the thing I find so interesting about this Taylor Swift thing, it's got nothing to do about the music, right? They're making it about the music because they're like, oh, this is a disappointing album. She sold out. And the comment I've got so many, I'm going to make a video about this because I got all these comments. But one of them was about when she was with the English boy, she wrote the more poetic, more lyrical masterpieces. And now she's with the dumb footballer. She's writing silly, trashy, girly songs.
Sure.
And so this is the quintessential last throes of a dying animal where Taylor Swift is the big one. She's going down. That's it. Who else you got? Who else have the left got?
I tell you what, we've been talking about this for a long time. The change that is happening, the cultural shift, and we're seeing it in so many different ways. Taylor Swift being one of them. If she goes, I mean, a lot of young impressionable women are going to follow her. Probably not for the right reasons. It won't necessarily be a lasting change on their part because they're still just following their idol, but at least following more positive direction. What's amazing to me at the moment. So I was at church yesterday. The tone of church has shifted, particularly since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I would say that was already happening. But talking to my dad, he goes to a different church than what I do. He goes to a tiny little church, about 35, 40 people. Just about every week, they're having randoms and mostly young people walk through the doors unaccompanied. When I say young, like, teenagers into their 20s or maybe 30, unaccompanied, that have simply decided, I need to find a church. And they just come walking through the doors like a fish out of water, don't know even why they're there necessarily. They're just responding to an itch. There is something happening, and it's bigger now than just a cultural shift. There is something really big happening. And yeah, if Taylor does at least soften her anti-men kind of stance and model maybe becoming a mum, although people in the comments are rightly pointing out that, she might have some difficulty, but we'll see. But if she shifts her model towards that, her role modeling towards that will have a pretty big cultural impact too.
Can I just read out a comment, right? Because I'm not going to read them all out, but I say some of the best ones. And this is a bit of a longer comment, but this is sort of a really good summary of how these people think. Now, as someone rightly pointed out in the chat, anything where you platform a celebrity, I've always found weird. Like the people who sycophant for like a Taylor Swift or a Beyonce. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people whose music I love. I'm a live music goer. I love Post Malone, for example. I love Metallica. Like, I love going to their gigs, but that's kind of
I would love to see Pink in concert. Like, just as far as athleticism and staging, really like holy moly. And I'd love to see Sia as well, actually. But just because I love her voice. She's got good pipes on it. So I agree, but it's like you follow them for their music, and that's where it ends.
And I've always thought too, like when it comes to music, right? Like, so my family were serious music people, right? My dad and my mum were super into their music. And my dad's favorite band was the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac, like I think most of our fathers, right? But my dad would sit there and explain to me like what Don Henley was writing about. And he'd talk about it. And like, because I never understood Hotel California. And so my dad would sit there and explain it to me. And, there'd be nights when we would have barbecues and everyone would be sitting around watching like live shows of, Zeppelin or Eagles, whatever. And my dad always said to me, like, when it comes to music, the reason you connect to it is because it triggers a memory in you or it evokes a feeling in you. And that's what the shared experience is. So the weird thing about Taylor Swift's audience is it's a parasocial relationship. Taylor Swift's living the life. She's writing the song about her life. And then these people are inserting themselves in Taylor's life and living the song as Taylor. And that's why and that's why they feel such a deep connection to her, right? And it's a bit like, you remember the early days when people would like scream and faint when Michael Jackson came out, or the Beatles,
or the Beatles. Even so that was the first one.
Yeah, or even now with like what's it called? One Direction. There's like every generation there's a band that sends girls a little bit whoopy. And I get it when they're young. Like teenage girls, they're different, man. I know, I was there. It's not good. But the Swiftie phenomenon I've always thought was curious, right? There was a moment where Clem Ford became a massive Swiftie. Now, Taylor Swift's a billionaire, and even before she was a billionaire, she was a multi-millionaire, flies around in private jets, wears head-to-toe designer clothes. I've never really understood the correlation between the left and Taylor, and it's because she pinned herself to the women's rights movement, and then also was speaking up for LGBT. So this is the thing. I always talk about the Scout sash, right? Taylor had collected a couple of patches, but she hadn't collected them all. And you know what she hasn't touched? The sacred cow. Taylor Swift has not talked about Palestine. And that's it, guys. That's your purity test.
Yeah.
See you later. Yeah. You're done. Right? But I want to read the comment. So when you don't touch the sacred cow or you don't acknowledge the sacred cow, that's it, you're done. Because Palestine has got nothing to do with actual Palestine anymore. That's the cult, right? That's where it is. It just, they don't think beyond that. But So this is a comment and we'll dissect it together. I'm an OG Swiftie since like way back from 2006, Tim McGraw, curly hair, modeling way back when. I love it how they have to give you a resume. Like I'm this OG. Anyway, I stuck through it all. The VMAs incident with Kanye, the 2010s bullying, the Kim Kardashian phone call, and the Reputation era. I don't know what this means. Like I have been there defending her all this time, but I guess she lost me mid-era's tour when I got scammed out of $450 when I was struggling to make rent, but I needed so desperately to see her. And for what? What did she do for me? So many people were getting scammed and she did nothing to fix her Ticketmaster prices. She took the money and she stayed silent through multiple genocides of people of color, the racism in the country, and now our fall into fascism. And she has surrounded herself with problematic people, and that woke me right up. I do not enjoy her Dead Poets Society album. I thought it was lazy. A couple of songs were good, but overall it was meh. And as an English major myself, I highly doubt she's even read Hamlet because the Ophelia song is absolute trash. Does she think Ophelia was a Disney princess stuck in a tower? I'm confused. Taylor Swift is nothing but her cookie cutter brand, and more Swifties need to wake the fuck up because she is ruining lives as people are drawn into debt just to support a billionaire that would happily take every last cent if it kept her where she is. So yeah, I'm angry and I'm pissed at her because I feel like the woman hoodwinked me into believing for almost 20 decades. That's what it says, 20 decades as an English major, that she was something good only to turn into another white Republican white supremacist.
So the real bombshell here is that Taylor Swift's a vampire because she's been around for 20 decades.
That's what I thought. I was like, wow, English major lady, that's quite a time frame there.
Okay, so Adam, it's not that I have no interest, it's that I still have too many living brain cells and I'm not able to kill them fast enough. No, what it actually is so I'm reading your comments. So when you see my eyes down here, it's not that I'm falling asleep on Carly, although I do feel like it when we talk about Taylor Swift. I'm actually like looking at comments. And so if Carly's talking and comments on the screen are changing, that's because of me. That's what I'm doing. So it's not that I have no interest. It's not my favorite topic, I'll be honest. But no, it's a little harsh. I do have some interest.
So don't you find this interesting, right? So I showed you guys, I think it was Wednesday's show, the ABC article, right? The anti-natalists who are coming out saying that having children is unethical.
Yeah,
and
the
obviously Scabby Chatfield also made a comment about how she doesn't know how people are having babies if they're concerned about climate change. So this rhetoric's been around for a little while. But Taylor Swift meets a man. So she's not in some like non-binary fucking weird polyamorous fucking who knows fuckfest.
Yeah.
She's met a man who's an all-American football boy. Like she's doing the whole rom-com thing, right? And now she wants to have babies, and that makes her a white supremacist.
And this is proof because a lot of the misogynists out there, and there are genuine misogynists in the world, but they keep saying, you know, when feminists are like, I don't need a man, blah, blah, blah. If you met the right man, you would put on a damn dress and pump out babies. And of course they get howled at for daring to say that. But I think Taylor Swift is kind of proving that point. You meet the right kind of man. You want to turn into the right kind of lady. I'm sorry. That's kind of biological. We all are wired in the way we're wired. Okay.
I'm going to be crass for a minute. I was going to withhold this from the podcast, but since you brought it up.
Okay, so can I just have 10 more seconds to kill a few more? I just got to kill a few more.
You guys know how babies are made? Do we need to have that chat? The birds and the bees? We know that the thing and the...
G, I need you to run upstairs. I need an intervention on behalf of 1,023 people that are watching right now. Why did I say yes to this? Moving on. Yes, we know how they're made.
Okay, so... Okay, she's got a song on this. She's got a song on the album that's apparently about her partner's dick. It's called Wood. And anyway, I haven't listened to it, but I've just heard the sound effects. You're welcome, guys. I've just heard some of the lyrics. And anyway, so she's talking about basically having good sex with her partner. Now, for those of you in the chat who are married and you know, with the love of your life, when you meet that person, it's just different. We all know that. Carl seems to have started early on the wine, but this is me without wine.
She
Imagine me
doesn't
with
drink. Yeah, she doesn't drink. That's the, yeah.
Anyway, so they're talking about her partner's dick. And of course, now the feminists are going, this is evident that Taylor is not actually having sex because that's not how people talk about sex. And now, so what's interesting about this is, so Taylor's singing, you know, she's genuinely in love. She's getting married. And geez, it's like playing.
Oh, sorry.
You're welcome, guys. You know, she's in her love bubble, right? I don't know how long they've been dating. Who knows? Who cares? But they're so miserable that she's happy.
Yeah.
And they're so miserable that she's having a heterosexual experience and she's enjoying being with a man, and the man has a man pickle, and it's just wrong.
Okay. We've spent 35 minutes of my life that I will never get back talking about Taylor Swift. I've tolerated this, but I'm drawing the line at discussing Travis Kelce's pickle. Okay, line drawn. What's next? Please, somebody help me out here. Somebody help me out. Okay, complete change of subject. This is an intervention. I'm changing subject completely. I got.
Hang on, this one's way
worse. Okay, the jokes write themselves. Okay, what is going on here, Carly? What have you started? We've
just entered into full-blown debauchery.
Okay.
This is the thing. Hang on.
Tangent time. We got to get out of here, Carly.
Okay, we are. I'm getting us out of here. But this is what's so fun about being on like the more libertarian, right-leaning, conservative, whatever the fuck you want to call us, anything but progressive left, is we have fun. We laugh and we make silly jokes.
We do.
But the left don't laugh. They don't have a friggin' funny bone. And this is basically the how I'll wrap up the Taylor Swift thing. She's put out a boppy album that's, you know, it's just earworm stuff. It's just bop. And these people, like always, have to pathologize everything, break it down into the minutiae, and try and like find all these like hidden supposed like Trojan horses. It's like, can you just not enjoy a song? You know?
Yep. Correct. And someone earlier, I mentioned earlier that I wouldn't mind seeing Pink in concert, and someone said, "Oh, not after what she said about Charlie Kirk." I'm like, actually, I just don't care. Yeah. I want my performers to perform. Dance, monkey, dance. Right? And that's a Sia song. There you go. So go and perform. I do not want to know, and I do not care what opinions you express outside of that. If I like your music, I like it completely independent of whether I like your politics. All right, moving on.
I will say this about celebrities and their politics, right? Like, I made this point on my Instagram today because I was talking about it, and I'm doing like one of my little videos on this, and it's so extensive that it's going to be a 3-part video because there's no way of summing it up really quick, but they kind of have to. So the whole thing with Taylor Swift adopting the women's rights and the LGBT stuff, and she's obviously stopped short of doing the Palestine stuff, is it's either get on board and hitch your wagon to this progressive ideology, or you don't get a career. It's that simple. So
correct.
Saying that, this is me being a conspiracy theorist. I do not have any evidence to support this, but Pink is my age, right? No, she's older than me. I think Pink's G's age. She's like 42, 43.
She's in her early 40s, yeah.
She's a pop star. So she's aged out of like that typical sexy girl pop era, right? Yep. She's an aging pop star. There's nothing wrong with being that age, but in the eyes of Hollywood. So she's up against it, man. She's already up against it because she's old. And she hasn't had, when was the last time Pink put out a song? I have no idea.
I don't know.
She kind of is she has to be on this train. Otherwise she'll get locked out of the industry.
Yeah, keep up or you'll get left behind. Yeah, and there's always going to be some newly young starlet who's going to be willing to jump on the train wherever the train happens to be up to today. So if you don't keep up, you're gone before you know it. All right, complete change of subject, change of tone. Pickle talk is over. For those of you that have muted, you can unmute your microphones now. We will not talk about Travis's pickle. We will not talk about G's pickle. We will not talk about stretching sourdough.
Can I give you some good news? Totally off the topic.
You're not taking us back? Okay, good. As long as you're taking us forward, not back.
No, this is wholesome stuff. So I was in Cairns over the weekend and
Right.
went up there for G's grandmother's 100th birthday. And she out-partied me, man. They all went to the
That's
casino
impressive.
after dinner.
Yeah,
I was
wow.
like, I was toast. But I was going to show you this on Wednesday. But yeah, we went and celebrated this 100th birthday, and she got a spread in the paper. And I took her, like, G went through her old photo albums, and we grabbed all these photos from, like, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and we
Sure.
recolorized them using AI, and then we
Nice.
animated them with AI. And we gave her this digital photo frame with all of her
Hang on.
old photos.
Was it woke AI? Is everyone black now?
No.
Okay, just
No,
checking.
it was
Just
really.
checking.
I'm gonna show you because I thought this was really wholesome, and I thought it was a cool idea for a present for people. So this is where are we? Where is it? Where is it? So this is the colorized version of her photo, right? Look at that, gorgeous.
Oh,
Because it was black and
nice.
white.
Yeah.
So AI's
That's
colorized it and
great.
obviously added some resolution. And
Yeah.
then if I take that off and share this one, it's so annoying how you can only share one screen at a time.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
It is a bit, but then this should play. There we go. And this is what AI did. Isn't
That's
that
scary.
beautiful?
It's beautiful,
It's
but it's also
crazy.
scary. Like, come on. And it's
It's
beautiful.
so
I
so
share
sweet.
Lady Patience's view, but also like that. Yikes.
Hey G,
Yes.
can I show them the picture of you dancing? Quick answer, otherwise I'm going to show it. I'm asking permission. So G is a qualified ballroom dancer. I know you wouldn't expect that of him, but G is one hell of a dancer, and he promised his grandmother a dance on her birthday, and he's not a ballroom dancer.
Hey, I thought we said no more pickle talk.
This is his grandmother. Come on, keep it clean. Keep it clean. No. He danced with his grandmother, and you should see the bloody look on her face. She was just like, it was the most wholesome bloody thing. So stop trying to make it gross.
Oh yeah, he hasn't jumped in and said you can't. So I think that's a yes.
All right, I'm going to show you this photo. Where are we? Oh, hang on. Share screen. What's he doing? Has he left the chat? He's like, I'm so embarrassed.
I don't know. I think he's
can't be here for this.
watching reruns of MASH or something.
All right, hang on. Where is it? Here we go. Look at her face.
That is lovely. That's really nice.
100 years old, dancing around, and then she went to the Cass. Went and played some pokes, and yeah. So
tell you what,
there you go.
G's getting a lot of love in the comments here. He's
getting
a lot of love.
Turn off the internet.
Yeah, he's going to turn off the internet. Yeah, he's stretching the sourdough. But at least Gabrielle says, that's adorable. So,
yeah, no. Damn it, he was stretching the sourdough.
Too late now. And CRF 1000L, you got me. I'm watching Slipknot videos to cleanse my mind of Taylor Swift. All right.
I don't see you as a Slipknot fan, Topher.
No, I'm not. But anything to cleanse my mind of Taylor Swift is appreciated. So I got a fan email this week. I got absolute love letter from one of my fans.
Excellent.
From Ron. If you're watching, Ron, thank you. Ron says to me, I was starting to get interested in what you had to say, and then you started vaping on camera. We have enough trouble getting young people away from vaping without people like you showing how cool it is. Well, it is not cool, but it makes you a fool. Credibility down the drain. I thought Australia had finally come up with a decent spokesperson, but I was wrong. Now, I get this kind of thing from time to time, but there were a few things about this one in particular. Well, there was one thing in particular that triggered me. I smoke cigars. That is not a vape. I smoke cigars. How dare you? How dare you? So he got me. He got me. I had to reply.
My dreams.
I had to reply. I said, "Hi, Ron. You must be new here.
Ron
it's astonishing
Weasley.
to me that you. It's astonishing to me that you think I would or should care for the unsolicited opinion of a complete stranger on the internet. If I were the kind of person who cared, then I'd be the kind of person you'd never heard of in the first place. By the way, I smoke cigars. It's not vape. And if you'd actually been following me for any amount of time, you'd know that it has nothing to do with being cool and everything to do with the well-documented positive effect that nicotine has on mental health. You should try it sometime. You might be less cranky. Please take your entitled and presumptive presence elsewhere on the internet. I have no need or desire for it on my pages. It's no wonder you think there's no decent spokesperson if you instantly dismiss anyone who says or does anything you don't understand. That was 3 days. That was 3 days ago, and I'm still waiting for a reply. I'm a little bit heartbroken. I thought I'd finally found a fan, but apparently not. Apparently not. He's gone. Couldn't handle the heat.
We actually did get a comment on our YouTube last week, and it was this guy who was like, he said something about like, stop grifting so hard. If I want to buy a T-shirt, I'll buy one. You don't have to tell me to buy one. Now I want you to talk about the Alaskan bloodlines and blah, blah, blah. And that's what I want you to talk about. I'm like, pretty rich of someone who's not invested in the podcast, who's telling us how to run the podcast, demand what we then talk about. Don't you think?
That's when we go start your own damn podcast.
But that's a bit that's a little bit lefty of them. Like, I want you to do what I want, Daddy, now.
No, right. Yes, I want it now, Daddy. Yes, very much so.
It's the Veruca Salt.
Yeah. Just so long as something else kills me first, Biggles. That's all. Something gets us all. Just hopefully something else will get me first. All right. Now, it has been a really big couple of days. The weekend was a busy one. I've got a couple of things that I want to bring up. Where are we at, Carly? Where are we at?
Well, I thought you might have some new news for me. Apart from Karen, I've actually got some pretty good news, like of what's happening globally. Oh. But do you want to go into some more serious stuff?
Oh, look, there's one more serious topic I want to touch on, but I actually just did a good news video. So tomorrow, the 200th official episode of the TOFA project comes out. Truth is, I've actually done closer to 250. I just didn't used to put numbers on my interviews. So I've done about like 40-something interviews that I didn't number. So anyway, but this one's the one that's called 200. And so I decided to do a good news episode, and it's all about actually the planet is doing really, really well, and humans are actually doing really, really well. And if we can just stop our government from buggering it up, then the future looks bright. But that's not quite what you're talking about with the good news thing. Before we get to your good news, let me start with something a little bit darker.
Okay.
We had news come out of WA that the West Australian police are running around confiscating guns from alleged sovereign citizens. Now, this has crossed over into proper pre-crime. This is literal. You have expressed opinions on the internet or in interactions with police or in court documents or somewhere that we have deemed to make you no longer a fit and proper person to own guns. Now, what they did was they said that they had found 1,000 people that had expressed so-called sovereign citizen type views, of which 70 had gun licenses, and they've raided all 70 over the last week. Now, that's extraordinary in and of itself, but they've actually gone further and they've cancelled the licenses of 44 of them. Now, there's a couple of really interesting things, and in the video that will come out tomorrow, it'll be my second video or my third video that'll come out tomorrow, addressing these specifically. They raided 70 homes, cancelled 40 or suspended 44 licenses, but they only charged 7 people with any offences, and every single one of them was a weapons storage offence. So I want you to understand here, these are 70 of the supposedly most dangerous people. They're raiding these people because of what Desi Freeman did in Victoria and his association with the sovereign citizen movement. So they're now preemptively moving to strike against this dangerous, subversive anti-government movement. And these people have guns. So who knows? This is high-risk operation here. Not a single person was charged with running away, barricading themselves in, trying to fight back, using or even touching their guns in a manner that the police deemed to be a risk to them, because they would have laid charges instantly. Not a single one of them was charged with having unregistered firearms. So these are licensed firearms owners who had registered their firearms, had not illegally modified their firearms. They weren't sawn off shotguns or anything like that. And they cooperated fully with police. These were the 70 most dangerous people in West Australia. And the best they could come up with was some people hadn't stored their firearms correctly. Now, for context, for those that aren't firearms owners, and I'm not, by the way, but I've had a lot to do with firearms owners over the years, the storage laws in Australia are absurd, and it is very easy to have a securely locked up firearm that is still not considered compliant with the rules. So, for example, I could lock my firearm into an approved gun safe that is properly, bolted to my house and all of those things. But if I happen to have not removed a firing pin from that firearm first, I have breached storage rules. Or if I have a box of ammunition in the same chamber as the rifle instead of in a separate locked box, I am now violating gun storage laws. Now, that doesn't mean that these guns are a danger to anybody or that anyone can access them or that there's any kind of a safety issue. They're still behind lock and key. But I've breached the storage laws. I don't know the details in the case of these 7 people that have allegedly breached the storage requirements, but I'll guarantee you at least some of them are very minor. They're those sorts of things. And the other 61 people that they raided, nothing, not even a storage violation, nothing. Now, thought experiment. If the police picked 70 random homes completely at random as a representative sample of Australia and raided them with large numbers of police going in hard because that's what they did, they're all high-risk operations, blah, 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 what percentage of houses do you think would have somebody that would do a runner? I reckon if you raided 70 houses just at random as a random sample of Australia, you're going to get some runners. You're going to get at least one person who's going to barricade themselves in, someone who's going to fight back. You're going to get all kinds of nonsense and idiots doing all kinds of stupid things. The fact that they could go out there and raid 70 houses and every single one of them was cooperative and not a single charge has been laid for anything other than, firearm storage issue.
Yeah.
Right? Tells you that the West Australian police are barking up completely the wrong tree here. So I've got a full video coming out on that tomorrow where I go through an ABC article and just dissect it and rip the whole language apart. But this is a really, really dangerous moment, in my opinion, because we've crossed into full-blown pre-crime, where simply because these people have expressed a deep degree of cynicism and skepticism towards government and towards law as we practice it in Australia today, just because they've done that, they are now deemed unworthy of the privilege of being a licensed firearms owner. Very, very concerning. And for me, a really, really dangerous precedent has been set now.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. I agree. But I'm just pulling up this thing I saw on X today. So we're talking about law-abiding citizens who've never done anything that we know of. And like you said, it's pre-crime. This happened in Sydney yesterday. Yep. I did save it. Here we go. Right. So for those who don't know, this literally just happened.
Oh, it was not just.
Oh.
But it was, earlier today.
Okay, so a man tried to mass murder people on the street in Sydney's West last night. 100 rounds shot from his window above a kebab shop. 1 man shot, 16 people injured. This could have been so much worse. Things are, that's Lozzie B's thing. Mass shooter. So why, I imagine this man with the gun is not a licensed owner. I imagine this has got to do with a lot of the guns that are coming in through the tobacco wars. But let's go after the law-abiding citizens. It's just complete misplaced condemnation of people to look like you're doing something, because the truth is the crime's well and truly out of control. They don't know what to do because a lot of it will seem racial if they do anything. So anything to do with the tobacco wars has got a racial tinge to it. Anything to do with the youth crime, racial tinge. So rather than that, they'll go after the white man who's law-abiding, who's done nothing, but he may have a gun, and therefore let's try and pin them on something, because they will not acknowledge the fact that there is an actual crime problem and a lot of it's been done by migrants. I actually do think this is just the Australian government trying to demonize white people. I really do. I'm not trying to make it racial, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great point here. This one here, someone who can still afford ammo. I mean, if this bloke could afford to fire off 100 rounds, then they must have won the lottery. Now, this is an interesting one, okay? So without wanting to get too deep into the conspiracy theory side of things, 100 rounds fired. No one fatally hit, at least not at this point in time. No one's died of their injuries, 16 injured. Obviously, sympathy to those 16. That's the reality of shooting right? That's, if you're trying to, I don't recommend this, by the way, but the reality is it's very, very difficult to hit human beings that are moving or running or anything like that. So my question then becomes, out of Port Arthur, we had how many rounds fired and how many fatalities? Most of them headshots, done by a guy who had no meaningful rifle experience, weapons experience, certainly not enough to justify that level.
80 or something.
So I'm going to leave that there, but one of these things is not like the other.
Do you know, it's I actually get really angry talking about this sort of stuff because it's broad daylight corruption, right? This is literally trying to take control of a narrative. It's the whole bait and switch. The whole Desi Freeman thing is perfect for them, right? It's terrible what happened, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
this is the perfect thing for the government because white right-leaning people bad, and it just deflects away from the Middle Eastern crime gangs, the tobacco wars, and the youth crime. And you posted something the other day, it was in the Herald Sun, about how they're thinking about doing African courts, like the Koori courts,
yes,
to deter youth crime. And I'm like, so you're actually saying it now.
Yeah, racially segregated justice system where people go through different justice systems on the basis of the color of their skin. Absolutely disgusting.
And this is my point. Like, I found a meme just before. It was something like a lefty saying, "Oh, you're a racist," and the other person's like, "Great." And it's at the point like anything you say now is racist, right? So I'm beyond that. I'm going to call a spade, and what we have is incompatible cultures who are causing a lot of chaos here. But the government refuses to acknowledge it. It's no different to what happened in the UK with the Pakistani rape gangs. They didn't want to look racist, so they let young girls get prolifically raped.
100%.
100%. You want to talk about moral bankruptcy? Like, these people, these elected leaders will sit there and admonish us for speaking up and saying the wrong word. Like, I mean, the UK is a basket case with their social media laws, but now they're trying to bring that in here. They're like, look at this bad guy over here. Look at the white guy who's terrible. Meanwhile, most people in Melbourne now know someone who has either been held up by a machete, assaulted by a machete, or been robbed by kids holding machetes. And I'm going to send you a photo. Like, look at me, I'm going to get us all in trouble. But you can't get in trouble when this is truth. I know E. Karen's probably going to come for me at some point, but I'm just bringing this photo in. So this is Melbourne, and this is what we're living with every day. So I got sent this on Instagram. This is from the Casey area Crime Watch, and they're like, Carly, did you see this? Because obviously I have been all over the youth crime thing. Where are we? Share this. So this is what we're up against. These are the delinquents who are holding this state to ransom. It's 1,100 or so kids. Look at them. What's the common denominator?
Hoodies. It's the hoodies that are doing it, Carly. It's hoodies, me. I've been selling hoodies. I've been contributing to this the whole time. Look at them. They're all teenagers. They're all men. And they all have a certain thing in common. Now, the issue with this is we are never going to tackle this problem unless we can call a spade a spade. This is a cultural issue. And I've said this before, and I will die on this hill. This is the perfect way to start a race war. That is exactly what this will do. Because they want to deflect and not talk about the issue, they are going to make this a race thing. Right. And going after the law-abiding citizens who, have incorrectly stored their legal weapons instead of going after these little shits and their machetes. Like, we know these kids kill people now. Now, I'm not obviously saying that the ones in this photo are the killers, but we know the Sudanese kids with their machetes actually kill people. It's happened. We've had 3 in a month. But let's go after the guy who has his rifle locked in a fucking safe that's bolted to his house. Now, can we go back and talk about the Cronulla so-called race riots in the context of what's happening in Victoria right now? I didn't end up going through with it, but I was approached. Some people were interested in doing a documentary about the 20th anniversary of the Cronulla race riots. And I had to quote the job as a commercial production job. I couldn't take time away from what I've been doing and do it at less than commercial rates, and they didn't have budget, so the project never went ahead. But I had some great discussions with them, and I was talking with some very senior. One was a senior New South Wales Police, very senior. I'm not talking senior on the ground. I'm talking senior top member, and another was a senior New South Wales government member. And both of them wanted to get the word out and to blow the whistle on the lie that was told in the media that made it all about race. This was an anti-Lebanese race riot by racist white Australians who wanted to kick Lebanese people off their beach. What it actually was a backlash against escalating violence that was happening to be being done by predominantly Lebanese people. And that violence was being directed towards beachgoers as they were trying to take over the beach. And the actual incident that set it off, I believe, was an assault on a lifeguard, and quite a vicious assault on a lifeguard. Now, if you want to piss off beach lovers, punch a lifeguard. Like you've just made enemies of every single person on that beach. We all know sort of the lifeguard lore, so to speak, that, they're not all volunteers anymore, but this was originally a volunteer organization where they come in, they spend their time, they do their training, they learn the resuscitation, they learn the swimming skills, they learn all that stuff, and they sit there and they save people's lives when you need them. You don't touch a lifeguard. Like, that's bottom line. You don't touch a lifeguard. And they did on Cronulla Beach. And the next day, what happens? Well, we saw it all over the news, except the news, of course, selectively picked the little bits that fitted their narrative, which was not the truth. It was this race-based riot narrative. So it is so insulting to everyone's intellect that we know that this is the play. We know that this is how this works. And you're absolutely right, Carly. They are setting us up for someone to go out there and have a go in some sort of a retaliatory effort. And then that is going to get used in the same way as Desi Freeman's actions are being used in West Australia to crack down on law-abiding firearms owners. The minute someone steps out and tries to intervene or take some sort of action, as they would see it, against the problem, which is a very identifiable one, that's going to get used as a pretext to crack down on the rest of us.
I don't mean to do this every episode, but it's just so on point. Can I play you a video I made? Because there is something in this that I think is so important, because I know we haven't talked about it yet. I'm going to share this screen. Where are we? So, hang on. I don't make it bigger. Nope.
Yeah, bottom corner of it. Bottom right corner. There we go.
That one? There we go.
Yeah. And compassion is killing us, literally. And this is going to be an uncomfortable reel. So if words easily offend you, I suggest you scroll on. But if you care about common sense and truth, listen up. Yesterday in Victoria, a 15-year-old with violent charges, including armed robbery and threats to kill, was released from remand so he could go on a European holiday with his family. They said they would have to cancel that European holiday if he wasn't released on bail. Contrast this to a Monash University law professor who showed child pornography in a Melbourne classroom and then proceeded to book an expensive overseas holiday. He was allowed to go on that holiday because it was deemed too expensive to cancel. What is going on in our legal system? Let's have a look at just this last weekend. An Indigenous boy was murdered in Morwell at the hands of yet another teenager and knife crime. Jacinta Allen comes out and declares that the machete bins are working, but I guess another boy murdered is just collateral damage. And here's what I find really peculiar. The boy murdered on the weekend was Indigenous, and the two young boys murdered a month ago were South Sudanese. And yet, where's the outrage? Where's Lydia Thorpe? Where's Black Lives Matter? Their own people are being hacked to death by knife crime, but not a word of criticism for the government that's presiding over it and repeatedly letting these bailed youths go on to offend. Let's have a look at Georgie Purcell from the Animal Justice Party that tells us that bail saves lives. All murders by offenders who are out on bail. But apparently, this is what saving lives looks like in Victoria. And no, it's not just Victoria. In New South Wales, a 19-year-old barber charged with a 6-hour gang rape was released on bail. He even got to keep running his business whilst awaiting trial. A man accused of multiple aggravated sexual assaults is allowed back into the community because the courts deemed he wasn't a risk to the community. What the fuck is going on in this country? Now let's look at the US. Iryna, a young woman stabbed to death on a bus, was murdered by a man with more than 14 prior arrests. Over and over, violent criminals are cut loose in the name of compassion compassion until someone ends up dead. And in the UK, we've got grooming games of Pakistani men systematically raping young girls for years, and authorities covered it up because they didn't want to be called racist. So imagine that. They let children be abused rather than risk offending someone with the truth. So whether it's here in Australia or the US or the UK, the pattern is the same. Our blind compassion, our obsession with political correctness has created a culture where criminals have more rights than victims.
Anyway.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, I can't argue with that. A
15-year-old boy up on charges for aggravated burglary, assault, and threatening to kill was released so his family could go on a European holiday. Do you know what's I find really peculiar about this is we had a home invasion in November. We had our car stolen, and I had thousands of dollars stolen of stuff. I then had my car broken into. Same thing. All my gear stolen. You know who can't afford a European holiday? Me. Do you know why? Because my livelihood and the equipment I used for my livelihood was taken from me by people like that 15-year-old who's now on bail so his parents can have a European holiday. If that doesn't make you fucking furious and sick to the core, I don't know what will. That's the world we live in. These are the people who are making these decisions. It's disgusting.
This is literally calling good evil and evil good. This is we are literally in a world where the justice system is genuinely upside down. They punish people that do good, and the police go out there and raid people's homes that have done nothing wrong, whilst releasing and re-releasing criminals for the flimsiest of reasons. Yes, being a violent criminal is likely to interrupt your holiday plans. Newsflash. I don't know how you missed that memo, but yeah, if you want to be a violent criminal, it's going to have some impact on your life. But much more importantly, I think we've found a new segment name. Carly. Carlception. That's what it is. When we're watching Carl, watch Carl.
Do you know why? And look, you're like this in your videos too. Like, you prepare that script and it's a lot more concise than me sitting here trying to recall.
Sure.
And that's why I'm like, rather than me try and like bring up all this stuff I spoke about last week, just watch the video where I pre-organized it. We're about to go up a few Scovilles. Yeah. Look, am I angry about this? I mean, yeah, but I actually have to find the humor in it now because, I mean, I've said my piece, right? You've said your piece. It's not about convincing people like us on the chat. What it is about convincing other people who haven't yet had the experience, right? Like Jacinta Allen, did we talk about this on Wednesday when she came out to finally address the Indigenous boy in Morwell that was murdered? Her opening sentence was, "The machete bins are working." I kid you not. That was her opening sentence. You're about to front the press over the murder of a child.
There's a murder.
And that's what you say.
Yeah. And we can prove that the machete bins are working because this kid was stabbed to death, not slashed to death. So that's proof that the machete bins are working as planned.
It's just so fucking sick. And I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to convince me anymore. I mean, the whole Georgie Purcell thing, I brought that up for a reason because she's literally like making it her pursuit at the moment in the government to talk about how bail saves lives. Like, you can't make this up. These people are, and look, and then this is why I tie it all into like, whether it's Abby Chatfield or Taylor Swift or whatever it is I'm talking about culturally, that is why I rejoice about the Taylor Swift thing. I'm like, this death cult needs to be dismantled. And this is how you do it. Because apparently people being murdered and stabbed and assaulted and young girls being raped isn't enough. Like, that's not the wake-up call. What we need is Taylor Swift to say she wants to get fucking married and have kids for these people to go, oh, that's outrageous.
But this is the thing right here. Create a problem. Said problem will threaten society. Introduce more laws that take away more rights from the public for safety. This is the Hegelian dialect. Hegelian dialectic, which is something that everyone needs to know. You always have this in the back of your mind every time a politician opens their mouth. Problem, reaction, solution. Related to this is, and I've mentioned it before, so I'll be very brief, is Rules for Radicals. Saul Alinsky talked about their reaction is our action. And so you don't do the thing that gets you closer to where you want to go. You do the thing that gets the other side to react in a way that gets you closer to where you want to go. And so we live in a world, unfortunately, where our reactions, our compassion is being weaponized. Our reactions are being continuously observed and calculated, and actions are being taken that are designed to get a reaction that gets them closer to where they want to go. In this case, what is that? Well, they want more. They want an excuse to clamp down even more. They want proof of their worldview, which is that white people are the problem. They want to be able to validate all of that. So how do they get the proof to validate that? Well, they have to get a reaction out of us, a race-based backlash against people of color, against new immigrants. How do they get that reaction? Well, create injustice. Create a sense of righteous indignation in people that say, this isn't fair, this is hurting people, there are real victims here. And once they can cultivate that reaction out of us, then we get action, reaction, solution. The solution, of course, being their objective in the first place. So unfortunately, we live in a world where our politicians are so cynical and have so little regard for human life to begin with, that they would view this, and I have no doubt that Jacinta Allen would be quite okay with a certain number of people having to be killed in order to cultivate a situation where she can then have the pretext to push through the laws that she wants to push through. I can find no other reasonable explanation why she would be sitting on her hands this much for this long when we know how to fix this problem. There is something in this that is actually good for her. That's the only explanation in my view.
Look, I agree with you. I don't know whether it's about securing votes or, not wanting to deter from immigration and then, like I said, securing votes. I don't know what it is, but I actually think what it is, it's a managed decline of the West for a reason, right? If we decline the West to a point where, her predecessor, Dan Andrews, can go get in bed with the Chinese, and then all of a sudden we're doing trade with the Chinese and the communists. And who knows? Who knows what their grand plan is? But I will say this, and this is where I wanted to get to the good news, is there is a lot of momentum in Europe. People have had enough. But before we get to that, Cruel Intentions, thank you for the super chat. I have a theory. The last two generations have not had any good pub bands, no good Aussie music culture, so nothing but imported crap. I actually agree with you. And I'm right, let me cook on this, right? Let me explain this. Now, I am no Triple J fan, right?
Triple J.
Never was.
Yeah.
I was never a Triple J girl. Triple M, yes, but I've always been somewhere in the pop rock genre. But like I said, my parents are massive musos. Anyway, when you think about when you reminisce on your life, you can usually create like a playlist to that time. Well, I certainly can. I don't know if everyone else is the same, but like, for example, you're like, that summer, and you remember because you were like listening to that song, or you went to that concert, or you went to that music festival. And what's happened is the music festival culture in Australia has died, and I know why, because it's not profitable. It makes it costs way too much money, and the government, through its red tape, make it almost impossible for these festivals to run a profit. And not only that, the international acts demand such a high price point that it becomes like, that's why we don't have Big Day Out anymore. It's why we don't have Falls Festival. It just became a perfect storm. And so have a think about what actually brings culture together, right? Like if you go think back to the 90s, whether it was Vanessa Amorosi singing Absolutely Everybody, which then became an Ansett song, or it's I Still Call Australia Home, and it's the choir, around the Kimberleys for the Qantas ad, or it's like those funny Telstra ads, right? They were genuine Aussie things, whether it's Crowded House, it's John Farnham. Who is that today? Who is that today? There is no one. Like, don't get me wrong, there is great Aussie talent. And this is the one thing. There is exceptional Australian talent, but it doesn't get airtime because it's not profitable. And also it doesn't serve the purpose. But I actually think this is a greater conspiracy. And again, I'm wearing my tinfoil hat. You don't want people to come together over these moments. You don't want culture. I mean, COVID showed us that. 2 years completely distancing ourselves from each other. Why? Divide and conquer. It's a lot easier to control people when they've got nothing to come together over. You think if you're in any social situation and John Farnham's You're the Voice comes on, everyone will belt it out.
Yeah.
Give me a song that's Australian of the last 15 years that everyone generationally would come together on. You can't name one.
I can't. No. Now, can I say there's an easy solution to this?
Robert, if they're good, we adopt them. If they're shit, we kick them out of the country. All right?
We can fix this easily. Take off alcohol excise for alcohol that is served in open containers for consumption on premises, right? Instantly, the pubs will be overflowing again. There will be demand for pub music. That whole scene will come alive again. All we have to do is say, listen, we need to get people back out, socializing, actually building and developing some culture. Let's just remove the excise for as long as it's served in an open container for consumption on the premises. That's not a big ask, right? Let's just say that is excise free, or halve the excise, or do something that actually makes these places viable again. But Carly, I want to be more specific. Because I can pinpoint the moment that Australian culture peaked. I can pinpoint for you the absolute, utter pinnacle, the last time that I remember truly celebrating a piece of Australian culture. Now, the decline had already started, but this was the last great moment.
This will be good.
Before the decline really set in. It's a big ad, a great big ad. It's a big ad for beer. Tell me you know that ad.
I do. Yes.
That is the pinnacle of Australian culture. That was the ultimate piss take ad on a grand scale. Australian humor in art form. And that for me was the last great Australian cultural moment.
Yeah. I don't want to call out the chat here, but I'm looking at some of the suggestions and I've got to find it. Where did that comment go? Where is it? Because it's I can't let this go. Here we go. Gen X, bro. I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Oh, no.
But that was over 30 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
That's early 90s. I said the last 15 years. The 90s was 30 years ago.
Yeah. What About Me by what's his face? Even that's pushing 15 years ago. Yeah.
Hey, just
by
tangent.
Yeah.
Shannon Knowles playing at a pub near us. I've said to G, we're going to go see Knowlesy. I'm a big fan. Love Knowlesy.
Okay. All right. There you go. Yeah. But even so, What About Me is just this big whingy song. It's fun to sing because it's it's a good pitch to sing. But
me?
It's just this big whinge.
Knowlesy, if you look through the lens of where we're at now, Russell Coy, so good. We were watching that recently. Knowlesy had a song that was on Biggest Loser. I know you're hurting. Lift. Is it Lift? Yeah. Anyway. And that became a great song. That became a bit of an anthem. But the reason I talk about culture so much and why people how do we go from Taylor Swift to youth crime to now talking about pub rock is because think about what brings Australians together right now. Literally, I'm being serious. Yeah. What unites our country right now? We can't have Australia Day. The Triple J 100 is just indoctrination. Yeah. What is it that remember when the Castle movie came around? Everyone was so bloody stoked. Whenever the Olympics was on and the Aussie swim team was playing, everyone all of a sudden was friggin' Team Australia. I mean, we had it a little bit recently with the Matildas, but there is not a lot to get Aussies to come together right now. And we've never been patriotic necessarily from the American sense, but we have been very pro-nationalism because we love that quintessential sort of Australian larrikin culture, and we don't have it anymore.
Until they're successful, and then we hate them.
P.S. Knowlesy was 20 years ago. Shut up, pro engineer. No one asked you.
No one asked you, mate. I feel personally attacked.
Am I ever going to see his face again? Yeah, I mean, look, but this is the thing. Gen Z borrows a lot of millennial and Gen X stuff because they don't really have their own, and it's not their fault. I did a video a couple of months ago about, where is all the good Aussie talent? And the truth is they're locked out of the industry. I've talked about this multiple times, me trying to get into the fashion industry. That's that whole scarcity mindset, the tall poppy thing. But a lot of it is also these live venues, these places don't exist anymore. We were at the airport over the weekend and G and his brother grabbed a beer when we were at the airport and it was $20 for, I don't know, a pint or whatever. I don't know what they're drinking, but $20. So
You remember when King's Cross in New South Wales brought in their curfew? And it's because the two people had been killed in King hit attacks. They were punched from behind, two separate attacks on two separate nights. One happened at about 9 o'clock at night. The other one, if my memory serves me correctly, was about 10:30, something like that. And so they brought in a 2 a.m. curfew and huge amounts of new restrictions. It's like, well, how does that fix attacks that are happening at 9 o'clock at night? I'm a little confused here. But anyway, they completely decimated the King's Cross. And that was the point, of course. They wanted to be able to raise real estate values in the area, which obviously getting rid of a lot of that nightlife and the riffraff would do. And therefore, the council was able to make a lot more money in their rates, notices, and so forth as a result of that. So ultimately, the council completely killed off these businesses, these pubs, all the music scene that went with it. I know guys that were trying to work their way up the music scene 15, 20 years ago, and it just got progressively more and more difficult. And yeah, okay, maybe they weren't going to be the next Silverchair. I don't know. I'm not far enough into my music to be able to tell the difference. But the fact is, you're never going to find the next Silverchair if you don't have pubs for all the crap bands to go and thrash it out. And in amongst them, every now and again, you discover something that's actually good. Those venues are gone. And it's all to do with the costs. It's all to do with just how expensive it is for people to go out for a night out now, that they pre-drink. They go out for a short amount of time and then take a carton home or do various things like that to try and save money. The atmosphere is gone because there's nobody inside the place. The venues aren't making any money, so they can't afford to pay for the entertainment, let alone even just the security and everything else that comes with that. The whole scene is dead, and it's all around costs. And if we could just bring the cost of alcohol served on premises down to a reasonable level, or hey, let's make it even cheaper than takeaway. Let's give people an incentive to show up in person at a venue. And then all of a sudden, the atmosphere comes back, the vibe comes back, the money starts flowing again, the bands and all of that local and live music scene comes alive again. That could happen literally in a month.
Yeah. And not only that too, like, I mean, with like, again, to look at culture, the left won't let you be happy. They won't let you rejoice, right? And for the longest time, the right, the conservative, anyone that's not progressive left have been beholden to these people. Well, let them be done. All right, you're offended by comedy. That's your problem. Oh, you don't like that song? That's your problem. Like, people need to really stop caring and start getting out there and taking that back. Like, you know, we just went through a decade and a half of political correctness basically controlling any joke that you told. And, you know, the comedy festival has suffered as a result. Like, do you remember when Will Anderson used to be funny? I used to be so pumped to go see Will Anderson live. Now I can't stand that guy. He's an insufferable prick. And all of them are the same. And then you got people like Isaac Butterfield, who, makes some dark jokes. But it's funny because you know how inappropriate it is. Right?
Yeah.
But,
it's subversive. It's subversive.
Chris Lilly, perfect example. We're not allowed to watch Chris Lilly anymore because it's like racist or something. I don't fucking know. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think this actually has a lot to do with, I think this is deliberate. If you rob us of culture, rob us of the ability to connect and chat and get around the, you know, the water hole, so to speak, then it makes it a lot easier to push through all of this progressive shit because no one's chatting amongst themselves, which is why, like, I think the Oddcast is doing so well, because this is essentially that water cooler conversation or water hole conversation you would normally have.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about culture, and we've talked a lot about, you know, there's a big debate about immigration. Is immigration the cause of all our problems? I've got a different take on that. That's not the point of what I'm about to talk about. What I can agree with is that we are losing our culture. Now, I don't think we're losing our culture because too many immigrants are coming in with their own culture. I think we're losing our culture because we've allowed ourselves to be browbeaten into being ashamed of it. And we've allowed the places where that culture is cultivated, like pubs, to be destroyed. Pubs are gone. Backyard barbecues, street cricket. When was the last time you saw a couple of families from a couple of different houses take over a street to play cricket? I haven't seen that happen in a decade or more. Right? It just doesn't happen. We are now, we're cut off from our neighbors, and wealth is part of the reason for this as well, by the way. We don't walk out the front to get in our car anymore. We walk into the garage, get in our car, open the door, drive out, and don't talk to anybody, right? We have the wealth now compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We have the wealth to seclude ourselves from each other a lot more than what used to be true, and that is part of it as well. But the actual places where we cultivated culture and relationship, the pubs, the clubs, the live music scene, the the backyard barbecues, the getting to know each other over the side fence, all of that has been slowly eroded. And then during COVID, quickly eroded. We were cut off from the people around us. And a lot of people have carried that habit with them. They haven't reestablished whatever was left of those bonds. And so when it comes to the culture stuff, I don't get excited about people who are like, we have to keep the immigrants out because they're diluting our culture. Fuck that. Celebrate your culture. Go and rebuild it. Go and get active. And let's push back on all of the politicians that are actively destroying our culture by destroying the venues and the places where that culture has historically been cultivated. That I can get behind. That I can get excited about. Yes, let's have a big-ass celebration on Australia Day. Yes, let's have a return of Guy Fawkes Day. Let's have a return of Firecracker Night. Yes, let's have cheap beer in pubs so that people can go and listen to some shitty-ass band whilst drinking cheap beers and screaming at the top of their lungs to try and be heard by someone that they'll probably never talk to again in their life. Let's bring all of that back, because that's actually where we cultivated what was Australian culture. I can't get excited about, oh, let's exclude people because they might dilute our culture. What is wrong with our culture that it is so weak, that it is so easily diluted? Let's fix that problem. And I think this, what we've been talking about, cuts to the heart of it.
Just on this one, Shell's Gen X, I'm much more of a Carnival fan myself. Don't mind Birds of Tokyo's earlier stuff. Silhouette was a great song, but much more fan of Carnival. Topher, you're projecting Victoria onto the rest of Australia again. Plenty of cricket games and cracker nights here in Darwin.
Look, Darwin is a very different culture, but I'm going to say it's more than just Victoria. It's more than just Victoria. But I mean, you're probably
Sorry. I can attest to that. I mean, I just told you guys last week where we've moved to. It was a culture shock, and it's predominantly Australian area. Read that into that how you will. Where we were was very multicultural. It was mostly Indians and Chinese and Vietnamese. Didn't speak to anyone. No one was outside. Like, it was weird. For such a big suburb, we never saw people. And I thought it was the most eerie, weirdest thing. Whereas now where we are, there's a beach really close. There's a big park. And like, I went past on Sunday and it was pumping. There's like a cool skate park and all the kids are there. There's people having barbecues. And pardon me, I said to Gia, I'm like, I haven't seen this in 20 years. This, like, it made me really excited. Like, I don't have kids, but my recollection of being a kid is we were always at someone's house doing a barbecue. I don't know whose house it was, but it was me and like 15 other kids all hanging out. All the parents were having a barbecue, having some beers, and it was usually a Sunday or a Saturday. And that was my childhood, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. Now, we've missed a couple of super chats that I want to go back to.
We have.
Because
I missed my rabbit. Sorry, I was reading that. I still have my rabbit traps from my younger days.
Yeah, you remember the old claw rabbit traps? Well, you're not allowed to use them anymore. All the lovey-doveys said that was too cruel. I
remember making pipe bombs from the anarchist cookbook. Did anyone else?
A mate of mine got arrested. A mate of mine got arrested for a PVC spud gun. Now, to be fair, it was a PVC spud gun that could launch a spud probably the length of 4 or 5 suburban house blocks. It was the most badass spud gun you've ever, like, you couldn't hold it when you fired it. You had to actually have it on the ground because the tunk, the recoil going the other way would reef the PVC out of your hands if you didn't have it backstopped against something. So to be fair, it was a pretty serious piece of kit. But yes, he got arrested. I don't know. What's that got to be? That's got to be 20 years ago. He got arrested for an oversized spud gun.
God, we used to make pipe bombs behind us where the housing developments were and just scare the entire neighborhood and just like,
oh yeah. Yeah, good time.
That was fun. That was just a casual weekend.
I used to buy boxes of little penny bangers off a high school mate. I was primary school age. I was homeschooling, but there's a mate of mine across the street went to high school and he could get these boxes. This is after Firecracker Night had been outlawed, and I would play with my army men and my little model aeroplanes and stuff in the dirt in the backyard, and I would set up scenes and I would set off the firecracker to model an explosion with all the army men getting thrown and all that sort of stuff. Good times. And look, all still attached, right? I still have them.
Do you know what? I mean, do you know what is one of my favorite things to do when I'm traveling as well? Like, it doesn't matter where I go, whether it's Vietnam or, because they're a lot more lax, right? Like, Australia is the nanny state. You forget that so many people are able to create such richer memories because their government's not in their way. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. if you go up to the Whit Sundays and you go on one of those like public catamarans where there's like the net and you want to just like go lie on the net, you'll get told off if your feet go through the net. You're allowed to be on the net, but don't hang your hands over the edge. Don't have your feet over the edge. That's dangerous. In Vietnam, you can go climb the mast and hang out and do whatever, hang off the back of the edge. I'm not necessarily saying that's not dangerous, but you're able to
but you're free to make that
live.
choice.
Yeah. Whereas nowadays you can't do friggin' anything. It's always for your safety. You know?
All right. I'm sick of this if it saves one life nonsense. Life is for living, not just for extending for as long as possible. And speaking of not extending.
Well, I was going to say, you always regret what you didn't do, not what you actually did on your deathbed.
So Joe Cameron's got a good question here. Capital punishment should be considered to be re-implemented for some of these horrific crimes. Thoughts? We have touched on this before, so I'm not going to dwell on this for long. We've got to be really careful with capital punishment, no matter how outrageous the crime. Let's never forget the case of Lindy Chamberlain, who spent however long it was, decades in prison, because everyone was sure, the media was sure, it was a trial by media, the outrage was universal. It would be the equivalent, it would be the equivalent of discovering that the mushroom lady, Erin Patterson, didn't do it. Right.
Yeah.
That's how sure my parents' generation was that she was the devil personified. It was certainty. And yet she wasn't. Right. So we have to be really careful. There would almost, in my opinion, have to be another level of guilty. Instead of guilty beyond reasonable doubt, it's guilty beyond doubt. Like, we caught them, that they were filmed by the police with the smoking gun in their hand, having just executed that person on the street. Like, it has to be at that level. It can't just be, DNA linked them to the crime scene, blah, blah. No, that's not good enough. We can't have death penalty for that. So for some of this stuff, Joe, where there is just no doubt about guilt, not beyond reasonable doubt, there is no doubt about guilt for some of these really hideous crimes, I would be open to it. But as with so much of this stuff, it's like, be careful what you wish for. Like, we would have to be so careful. Thoughts?
I also don't want the government to be in control of that, right? Like, which I know sounds like a stupid thing to say, but what I mean by that is our government is incompetent at best. I don't want them determining whether someone lives or dies. And you just have to look at how capital punishment is rolled out in the US. Usually they get last minute stays, and you've got to think about what that does psychologically to the prisoner. And I'm not here to defend prisoners, right? People who are on death row are obviously there for their reasons, but 20 years waiting a trial, after appeal, and then you get told this is your week, you get read your rights, you request your final meal, and then there's a stay of execution, and then you're back onto the jail cell for another year. I actually think that process is really inhumane. And look, when it's someone like freaking Ted Bundy, yeah, great, God, I'm glad he's gone. But what I mean is, like, I actually don't think the way our governments are run now that would be worthwhile bringing back, because we'd fuck it up. And this is the other thing to consider. Whenever you like, oh no, but if they're a murderer or whatever, Topher and I, given today's environment with Karen, we would be considered like people that need to be arrested. What if we got accused and set up as something, and then all of a sudden we're on death row? Do you see how that works? Like, we're so politically charged that you could then try and get people done for these sort of plots to try and get people in jail.
Imagine at the height of COVID, go back to that level of hysteria, right? And then say the government has the power of life and death. Like, let's just be careful what we wish for. Jumping across to this one, because we skipped it earlier. Thoughts on the petition on Albo, 100,000 signatures. It's not going to do any good. I actually haven't even looked to see whether this one's a parliamentary petition or if it's just a
federal petition. No, it is. It's a parliamentary one. Yeah, it
is. Okay, well, at least that's good. So no one's just harvesting email addresses and whatever. It's not going to change a thing. Does that make it bad? No. Does that mean that we should all jump on it? No. I mean, sign it if you want to, but yeah. Sloth said absolutely no comment, but because we weren't keeping up with when that happened, I have absolutely no idea what Sloth was absolutely not commenting on.
Were you referring to flesh pickles?
Well, the irony is that it was us who were slothful, and that's why we don't know what the context for Sloth's comment actually was. We had a look at Pro Engineer with this one. What about me? has got to be the song for every time Albo tries to get a meeting with voters. Look, I've predicted
also
that
Karen trying to get her way.
That's so ridiculous. Have we talked about that yet? I don't think we have tonight.
No, we're going to get to it in a minute. But I wanted to do that. I was kind of like, this is a good news show. I didn't want to get too like deep, but we can. I wanted to get to some global good news.
Okay, let's get to that in a minute. Let's get through the rest of these. There's 2 left. What are your thoughts on the petition of confidence in the Albanese government sitting at 120,000? Well, that's an update on earlier in the podcast that had it at 100K plus. Look, same response, same question, same response. Sorry, Dan, we had that question. These things can be nice as gestures, but the fact is Albo's not going to call an early election because of a petition. The Governor General's not going to step in because of a petition. Let's not forget that was it about 34, 35, whatever it was, percent of the Australian population voted for the Labor Party. 60 whatever percent voted for someone else first. So you could get millions of signatures on a petition and it would still just be the people that already didn't vote for Albo. Like, it doesn't prove anything. So I'm sorry. It's just not proving anything. Sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say just quickly, this comment, if you want evidence, they'll do all 2.75 million signatures against the digital ID in the UK in 3 days. And the government just replies, they're going to do it anyway. Yeah. Yeah,
correct. And there was a 3 million person petition in the UK early this year for an early election. And there's a current one that's got a lot less signatures, but they got over 3 million earlier this year. Makes no difference. Makes absolutely no difference. So I'm sorry. But okay, so then this is the last one. Joe Cameron says pubs are suffering a lot on the lack of ability to have a smoking area. Now they're trying to stop you from having a beer in a smoking area where they have them, and forget about food. Yeah, so this was, once the government decided that you as the venue owner weren't allowed to decide whether people could smoke and whether they could not, that was a big blow to property rights, and a lot of people supported it for health reasons and all the rest of it. Well, I'm sorry, over the long run, if you allow someone who has no commercial stake in a venue to make its decisions for it, ultimately you will lose all the venues because they will become commercially non-viable. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Making the rules so that they can't serve food in a smoking area. What a freaking insult to the intellect. How does this help? This is all they're doing is punitive measures to make smokers less and less comfortable as time goes on. I was in Brisbane for the CPAC conference. And we had the head of CPAC internationally, Matt Schlapp is his name, and I wanted to have a cigar with him after the CPAC conference, and he loves his cigars. I could not, for love nor money, get a location for us to sit down and have cigars in Brisbane City. We were at the Star. There was nothing anywhere. They didn't have a VIP lounge. They weren't going to put chairs. There was a smoking balcony, but we weren't allowed to take any chairs out there with us. So we were going to stand there leaning on the rail for an hour and 25 minutes, hour and a half, while we smoked beautiful, nicely aged, very large cigars, right? No, of course not. Of course we're not doing that. We want to sit down. We want to have a table for our drinks, for our lighter, for our ashtray, for all that stuff, and be able to have a good conversation. That's the point. But they're deliberately making it less and less comfortable. And they allow the hookah joints. Absolutely. So this is just that same nanny state mentality, the same mentality, Carly, that you were talking about that says, oh, you can't dangle your arms off the edge of the net in a catamaran. That same mentality says, oh, well, you can't be comfortable. If you're going to smoke, we're going to make you feel like you're some dirty little outcast. We can't allow you to be comfortable. We certainly can't allow you to have food while you're sitting down enjoying a beautiful cigar, because that's something that you like to do. It's
just something, just zooming out, sorry, like just on the nanny state, is it's robbing us of our ability to actually live our lives. And I don't mean that like as in physically. I mean, think about all the memories that we're no longer able to generate, and all the moments and all the missteps and all the happy accidents and all the meet cutes that we're being robbed at, right? Like you talk about pub culture being eroded. That was like something that we did as not teenagers, sorry, like in our 20s, like that was a social thing.
Well, the truth comes out.
No, but like, you go to the local Irish pub, a Bridie O'Reilly's or whatever it might have been in your local area, and you'd go see a band and you'd have a palmy because, it was like $10 for a palmy on a Wednesday night, and then you'd do like a trivia night and things like that. And like, it was just a nice way to potentially meet new people. But now all that sort of stuff is being eroded, and it's no wonder that Gen Z are so fucking miserable. You know, it's no wonder that people are struggling to date. But all those stories, like, you know, even just in this chat, I love it, but it actually makes me really sad because we're talking about all these things from our childhood. They're not things anymore. So, like, I'm trying to think of, you know, I was talking about music and how I correlate a song with a moment in my life. For the last, I don't know, since COVID, I haven't really had a song that I'm like, oh my God, this song is like the song for this moment. We're being robbed of all these precious memories. And what you're getting is this like weird gray, like homogenized life where, yes, you're very safe and you're kept very comfortable, but are you living? Like, we are becoming completely catatonic.
Yep. And this is the thing. The government doesn't get to decide how we use the time that we have. And what's happening is the government is extending our time as the excuse to control what we do with our time. And that is not the place of government at all. That is an inversion. The government is meant to be a servant. It serves our best interests, which means we do the things that actually we care about, that we think are important, that we want to do the way that we want to do them, for as long as we're not hurting other people, for as long as we're not violating anyone else's rights, we can live how we like. And if that means that we're taking risks, those are our risks to take. The government does not have any business telling us that we can't do that, but they're using that excuse. So we touched on the speed limits thing earlier about how the road toll has risen. Therefore, we're going to, you know, some proposal. It comes out every now and then. It's not a new idea, but this idea of, we'll take all the speed limits down to 80, no more 100-kilometer-an-hour speed limits. And firstly, that won't work because a lot of the people who are killing themselves are disregarding speed limits. We're talking about the teenagers that are stealing cars and wrapping themselves around poles and all kinds of nonsense. We had a teenager died just south of me on the Hume Freeway 3 mornings ago, stolen car, and the front seat passenger in the stolen car was killed because they deliberately drove up the wrong on-ramp. They drove up the off-ramp and drove the wrong way on the freeway and head on to another vehicle. Thankfully, the people in the other vehicle got out alive. But, you know, teenage kid added onto the road toll, and that adds to the excuse of, the road toll is very, very serious this year. We have to crack down on all of yous. Well, no, you don't. How about you deal with the actual problem, which is the criminals who disregard speed limits in the first place? But that's the pragmatic side. It won't work, right? Is the pragmatic side. But in principle, it's actually wrong. We get to choose what the trade-offs are going to be. And every single person watching this has decided that it is acceptable for them to risk dying on the road in order to get the benefits of traveling at high speed. I promise you, each and every single one of you has made that decision. You maybe weren't aware of that decision, but every single one of you has decided to get onto the road and to travel at speeds exceeding 60 kilometers an hour, at which point a crash can very well kill you. And you've done that because of the upside, getting where you wanted to go faster, being able to bring things with you or go with other people, whatever the reason was. You made the judgment call. I'm willing to risk dying in order to go and visit that winery, in order to visit my mum, in order to get to and from work. That is a decision that each and every one of us has already made, and each and every one of us is entitled to make. And the government has no business meddling in that decision.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm just reading all the chat as we're going through. Can I change of pace for a second, and we'll go some good news. But I need to tell you, and G, you're going to roll your eyes, but I have to tell this story. This is what I'm calling the GYG scandal of 2025. And this happened on Sunday, and I'll go into it in a second. But if this is indicative of what Gen Z is like, we're doomed. We are doomed. Okay. So
GYG.
Guzman Gomez, the Mexican fast food joint.
Okay, so sorry.
Guzman's.
Fast food is indicative of our future?
Yeah.
Are you like
no.
cutting open fish and reading the entrails or something? I'm confused.
All right. And I'm sure you guys can relate to this, but all right. Sorry, this is the story. We got up at like 5:30 having partied the night before for G's 100th. Grandmother's 100th. So we're already tired. We've been on the plane and we're hangry. G's hungover. And I was like, you know what? I can't be fucked cooking dinner. Let's go get some GYG. At least it's relatively healthy, right? I wasn't interested in cooking. So we had this bright idea it's just like, it's not too far from us. Get in the car, go there. And we get in the queue to order. And it takes us about 15 minutes to talk to the speaker and have the order taken.
Wow. That's
From
busy.
where the speaker is to the first window where they take your money, that took us, and no word of a lie, deadpan, almost 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes. We get to that window. There's no one there to take our money. And then we're like, okay, we'll wait. And then sure enough, the car in front moves, so we move on. From the first window to the second window, almost another 15 minutes. And you can imagine, like, you guys know what hangry Carl's is like. Imagine hangry, tired Carl's. She's pretty scary. And
the reason you go to fast food is because of the word fast.
Correct.
Well, that's the whole point.
And so we got into the queue at 5:30, right? By this point, it's almost like, I think it's like 20 past 6. And we're at the window, right? And I'm staring at the window and I'm looking in there. There's 2 young girls, right? And one of the girls was like playing with her fingers like this, like that sort of anxious response, and just staring, literally just staring. And I'm looking at her going, and I'm getting pretty angry at this point. I'm over it. And then like after about like 6 minutes, they open the window and they're like, "Hi, was your order the chicken tenders and the 10 nuggets or whatever the fuck she said?" And we're like, no, it's not. It was this. And she's like, "Oh, have you paid?" "No, we haven't paid. There was no one at the window." "Oh," closes the window, walks away, and then just stands there. I kid you not, just stands there. This girl had to be like 20, 21. And then now there's 3 of them all in that little drive-through booth, and they're just talking to each other. And I can see on the fucking counter, sorry, I'm getting so mad. I was so angry. On the counter is like this stack of like boxes of food. I'm staring at it. Behind us, there's easily like 20 cars, right? And you got to remember, from where the speaker is to where the window is, there's probably about 10 cars who have also been in there for about 45 minutes. And so she comes back over and she's like, "Oh, you haven't paid." And we're like, no. And then I said to her, I'm like, "What is going on?" And she looks at me. I said, "We have been in this queue for 50 minutes. What is going on?" And she just closes the window. Can't deal with conflict. And so by this point, there's now 6 of them, right? And they're running like from direction to direction, like little stunned mullets, not knowing what to do. And all I can imagine is like fucking chickens when a cat has been let into their cage, like, "Oh," right? Like the food's sitting there, the food's cooked. There's like countless people in the drive-through queue, and these young girls, they were all girls, and they're all like 20, 21, just standing there freaking out. And I'm just like waiting for a manager to come through. There was no manager. Anyway, eventually one of them figures out what to do, charges us the money, and we get our food, and it's fucking stone cold. And I'm like, whatever, let's just go home. And we look at the top of the thing, and it had been cooked about half an hour prior to us getting it. So there was no delay. We weren't waiting for the chickens to be hatched and then killed and then cooked. Yeah. No one was flying over to Guatemala to get an avocado. Like, it was there. Somewhere between the food being cooked and these girls trying to operate the register and just pack the orders, these women couldn't get it to work. And they were all septum piercing, like non-binary looking, they, them, fucking typical leftist TikToking fuckwits. Sorry, but they were. If that is Gen Z, we are doomed. That they were the manager. There were no manager. So anyway, this experience. So then we get home, and like at this point, like G's trying to calm me down, and I'm ready to like go wring some necks, because I like my first job was Macca's drive-through, right? Like Macca's is fucking, well, it used to be. I don't think it is anymore, but it was run like a military camp, right? If you had someone in drive-through queue longer than 3 minutes, you got in serious trouble.
Yeah,
and anyway,
that's right. And they got all the beepers and the KPIs and all the instant feedback. If you're not up to speed, you know about it straight away.
You got in actual trouble. And like, and I've said this before on the podcast, it was the best job. It taught me so many good life skills. But anyway, we get home and G jumps onto Google and we start reading the reviews, and they're all the same experience, like just horrific. It was terrible. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that is an entry-level job. It's so simple. There's processes. Fast food joints have been running for what, 50, 60 years. It's not rocket science. And I watched like it was overstaffed. There was so many people working. Yeah. And I'm looking at them all going, what on earth? And I just felt really fucking sorry for Gen Z, because I can tell you now, they can get up there and tell you what their pronouns are, and they can tell you all about Palestine, but they cannot run a simple drive-through establishment. It's fucking terrifying.
And this is the thing that we've talked about before, Carly. That generation, unfortunately, might be lost. Now, the age you're talking about is the very bottom end of that generation that is lost. I would say 35 down to about 20-ish, somewhere in that range. These people are lost. They grew up in a world that told them that being oppressed was the way that you climbed the totem pole, that achievement was actually bad, and that you just had to plead victimhood. You had to have you had to have that intersectional victimhood status. And if you had that, then you were good. And they've come out into a world where they are useless in the real world. Their education has actually, not only has it not prepared them to be useful in the real world, it has actively worked against them being useful in the real world and having, just basic employable skills. It has poisoned their future relationships. I've talked a lot about feminism before, and has ensured that they will live at best a life of mediocrity unless they really do have a revelation and reject all of that. People can change. It's rare, but people can. But unless that happens, they are doomed to a life of total mediocrity. The generation under them is looking at them and their parents and their grandparents and going, fuck that, I don't want any of that. And they are the generation that is right now showing up in churches and is going and getting apprenticeships and is actually getting out there. That's the generation that's getting, they're looking at getting married younger. Some of them are getting married before they're even 20. And when they're surveyed, they're planning on having more kids. They're coming back to something that is older than their grandparents. They're looking at their parents going, you fucked up your life, I don't want to be you. Looking at their grandparents, remembering the age group we're talking about, and they're going, well, you fucked up your life as well, I don't want to be you either. And they're looking for something even older, even more solid. And unfortunately, that generation that we're talking about there, they're too old. They've gone too far down that dead end. And for many of them, they are going to be a lost generation.
I was genuinely, to be honest, I was actually very mad. But in hindsight, thinking back, once I calmed down and ate something, I was really sad because, I've said this before, my job at Macca's to this day is still my favorite job. We had so much fun. And it was competitive and it was fun because we didn't want to be like the shit McDonald's because, the franchisee owned like 3 or 4 stores and we wanted to be the best store, and it was fun. It was competitive. And not only that, I had some of my good friends were people I met at McDonald's. We didn't go to school together, but I really feel for Gen Z. I really do, because it's not their fault, right? They got some really tough lessons to learn. But I mean, I've told you the story about G's apprentice. I can't even tell you the final story about him finishing, but you sit there and you go, you still don't get it. You still don't get it. And this sounds terrible. And, I'm not trying to say that I want them to suffer, because I do think they're actually suffering because of how they are. But until that rug is pulled from under them, the longer we delay it, the worse it gets. Imagine being almost 30 and being a Gen Z and finding out that you're completely unemployable. Right? You're going to have the next generation that's going to uni now or getting apprenticeships now. They're nipping at your heels. And if you've got a high achiever and someone that's willing to do a bit of overtime or willing to go that little extra mile, you're going to absolutely. Yeah, that too.
It just isn't a stook and just actually shows up.
Well, okay. So on this whole thing with G's apprentice, so he got an email from WorkCover. Now, is WorkCover state or federal? Is it federal, WorkCover?
WorkCover's federal.
Okay. So this is across the board there. And small biz owners, you've probably got the same email. And it was talking about changes. Gee, you might have to correct me because I might be paraphrasing wrong. But essentially it was changes to legislation around mental health. So
apparently it is state by state.
It is state by state. Okay, there you go. So now WorkCover in Victoria is legislating that you as a small business owner need to have a place that's conducive to cultivating healthy mental health. And if it's not, it's now a work safe issue if someone's suffering from mental health. Now, how ambiguous does that sound? So just for those of you who may have not heard the story I'll give you the quick cliff notes. G's apprentice was 27 and was basically catatonic. It should have been far further along than he was. And every time, and G is like the most patient man I've ever met. God bless him.
That's why he puts up with you.
I know, right? Oh. Positives and negatives in every scenario. But, you know, G went above and beyond. He didn't want to give up on this kid, but he would throw the mental health card. Oh, my tummy's a bit sore. Do you mind if I go home at lunchtime? And he was always sick on a Friday and a Monday and just wouldn't show up to work. And oh, no. And then he'd say like, oh, everyone's so mean to me here. And G's like, how are we mean? I'm just asking you to do your job. No one's having a crack at you, mate. And he's like, oh, but you're never happy with the job I do. And he's like, because you break shit. I've asked you to do one job and you almost blew up the engine. And he's like, oh, but I'm trying. He's like, try not to break the car. And then, you know, we wouldn't have to have the conversation. But the thing that was totally bewildering about this is, so now you get mental health days, but now WorkSafe has now intervened and said, we will determine if it's the right environment. So now, like you've told the story of your mate who had the false allegations around sexual assault. Now an employee, and think about these Gen Z types, right? The septum piercing, blue-haired types. He bullied me, my mental health. They are going to be unemployable because every single small business owner is going to go, do not hire someone between the age of 22 and 35. Do not rehire someone who's semi-retired. Go and get someone who's 17. Anything but this generation of poor me, pick me kids.
Correct. Hire older or go younger. Absolutely. Now, for the sake of Camp Creek Hill, because I feel your pain, that Carly hasn't mentioned her masters. I haven't mentioned Venezuela. Everyone's drying out. You know, I was thinking about the nightlife scene in Venezuela when I was there, actually, and just these enormous cocktails that they would serve that were super cheap. But it went out to be like $1.70 for like literal fishbowl sized cocktails, and they were super strong. And that South American culture, which we look down on because it's very sleazy and it's very one-night stand-ish and blokes cheat all the time and all of that stuff, right? But they have a vibrant nightlife scene and they have, you know, you go out to clubs and to pubs and to bars to pick up. Can you imagine being a young man today trying to get into the dating scene by approaching women or girls at bars?
You can't because they'll tell you sexual assault.
Every single one of those approaches is a potential prison sentence.
Yes.
Every single girl you walk up to at the bar, you can do everything right. And if they decide in hindsight to make up some story about what happened that night, you go to prison. Like, how the hell do you, as a man especially, how the hell do you not be online dating? People used to look down on meeting people online. How do you go about meeting people any other way these days?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just had this conversation here, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you some bad news. Where is it? Hey, Carly, catatonia is a real illness and not synonymous with laziness or stupidity. So can you please try to use a different word to describe the kids? No, I can't. I'm sorry. And like, I know you don't want to hear that, but I will use the word that I feels fit. And we got to stop this shit. Stop trying to police people's language. It's the same as using the word retard. Like, if that offends you, I'm sorry, but that's a you problem. Catatonic means to me someone who's vacant, someone who's not paying attention, someone who's literally staring and there's nothing going on upstairs. It's the right word. I'm sorry. You will not police my speech. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I'm not having to borrow this crap. Sorry.
So let me give you the nice version of what Carly just said, which is that it's still a valid description. No one's saying that it's not a real illness. But when people behave in the way that matches the symptoms of the illness, to say that they appear catatonic, to say they're behaving in a way that is catatonic, is a valid description of that behavior. So I disagree that it's disrespectful. You know, and I've been very firm on the fact that, you know, calling someone a window licker is not an insult if there's someone who licks windows. But in this case, we're talking about if someone behaves in a way that is reminiscent of someone who is catatonic. We're not denying that catatonia exists. But we're saying if you behave in a way that looks like that, that's what we're going to label it, because with a single word, we've described it. We don't have to say, well, they're kind of vacant and staring and this and that. No, they're catatonic. Done.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be nasty to you, but like, this is the shit that has to stop. Like, stop asking other people to bend the knee because you yourself are offended. And guys, take this as a lesson. Like, there might be things that Topher and I say that you don't agree with. That's totally fine. It is normal. You might say something that I'm like Topher could turn around today and say like all artists are like lefty wankers, right? And that hurts my feelings. I'm an
That'd be
artist.
fair.
I'm not a lefty
Yeah,
wanker,
that'd be fair.
right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna be. Excuse me, Topher. Can you please not say like we got to
Yeah.
stop this shit.
Carly,
Anyway.
Carly, you are not a true artist. You do things
not.
that have commercial value.
Yeah,
Okay?
you're right.
Right. You actually add value to society. So I'm sorry, but you're out. Why even pretend?
Guys, if you would like to grab your drinks, since you've asked.
Oh, there it
my
is.
My master's exhibition is at the end of this month. And for those of you who feel inclined to come to Melbourne or Danistan or the South, I would love to have you come and check it out. It's starting to freak me out because it's 3 weeks away, but that's all right. So there you go. Shots.
Okay. So you want to know something funny? When
What?
I was in Brisbane for CPAC, we came walking out looking for dinner. Myself and my wife, my general manager and his wife were all up in Brisbane. And we went walking, looking for somewhere to eat. And as we walked out the front foyer of the hotel, there was a little art gallery that had an exhibition on after dark, late at night, on a Friday night. Doors are open, lights are on, and there's all this artwork up on the walls. So we thought, you know what? We'll just wander in and have a look. And so we did. I felt very out of place. That's not my scene at all. But nevertheless, I kind of went, I get what this artist is. Not an artist I'd ever heard of, but I was like, okay, yeah, there's actually a few pieces in amongst them that I could see having up on the wall. Like this is actually, I actually don't mind this. And we're wandering around having a look. And who should walk in but former Queensland Premier, oh gosh, I've just had a mental blank. Jolly bald head. No, bald head who did all the laws against the bikies and stuff, which I didn't approve of. Former Queensland Premier list of premiers.
Peter Beattie?
Gosh.
Peter Beattie
No,
or something?
This is really embarrassing. I should know this.
Newman.
Hang on. Newman. Campbell Newman. That's the one. Campbell Newman. And he walked in and he and I know each other. And he did a lot of good things and a couple of things that I really didn't like. But I've interviewed him before and we've chatted. And so there all of a sudden I am in Queensland having a chat with Campbell Newman over free bubblies. They were handing out free champagne. So I do hope you're doing your exhibition properly, Carly. I do hope you are going to be getting everybody sufficiently drunk.
I'm hoping I'll do that to the assessors and then they're kind to me.
And then they're nice. Yes, it was quite a strange moment. And I'm just chatting with former Premier of Queensland, Campbell Newman, and having a chat. And he's like, "Oh, so what are you here for?" I said, "Well, the same thing you're here for, right? For the conference." It's like, "Oh, is that on this weekend?" So he wasn't even there for the conference. He just dropped by because he was going to this exhibition. So anyway, in all of that, all I want to say is make sure that you have bubblies at your exhibition. Okay, thanks. Bye.
I will. And yeah. Anyway, there you go, Masters. It's 9:30. Can I just finish with some fucking good news, mate?
Well, before you finish, can we just read this hilarious comment? When I was in CPAC, I opened the door for a Gen Z. I was looked down on like I shat on her face. I'm pretty sure they would like that kind of thing, but that's just me. I was born in the UK and I was just being a gentleman. I really don't understand that. Yep. Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's the feminists, man. That's what they've told them, that all men are evil. You would have been doing that because you're trying to assert your authority and your power because you're from the patriarchy.
Your dominance. Will I make a video on the reports from the special envoys? I have done one on the report from the special envoy into Islamophobia and the fact that they're trying to enshrine religious law into Australia. I haven't done any others, but yes, I will. I'll go and I'll have another look at what else has come out since then. Yes, we do certainly need to stop the PC crap. All right. I think
is it daylight savings already? All the Queenslanders are like, it's still 8:30. Are we on daylight savings?
Oh yeah, we're on daylight savings. Did you not know that?
When did that kick on?
Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Nah. Where's the old change your smoke alarm battery?
How did you miss that? That's hilarious.
Wait, so hang on, whoa. So you're saying I got robbed of an hour's sleep on Saturday night? Is that what you were telling me?
Correct.
No wonder I was a raging bitch. No wonder. I got an hour's sleep less than I thought.
There you go. You can blame it on that if you need to. Right, let's give us some good news. All right. We're going to finish with that.
So we are seeing, geez, laughing at me. No one told me this, okay?
Yes.
No one told me.
He's rightly laughing at you, as is everybody else.
Fuck, I didn't know. Leave me alone. All right. So good news across in Europe that Sweden is now taking a stand against mass immigration, and they are looking at rescinding a lot of permanent residency. And also, so I'm not really across Sweden. I did watch a quick little documentary on it this afternoon just to sort of understand. But from what I understand, in the 90s, they started bringing in a lot of asylum seekers and a lot of people from Iran and Syria, and now later African countries. And now it's got to a point where there's sections of Stockholm and parts of Sweden that are complete no-go zones. They are not visited by the police because these people came in, they didn't assimilate, they didn't learn Swedish, they maintained a lot of their Arabic traditions, and as such live separately or adjacent to the Swedish people. And now, this is the false illusion of all of it, guys. So now what you're seeing is like the Swedish people have had enough because obviously there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of rapes, and it's now gotten to a point where, you know, the people have had enough. So the Swedish government has now got a populist in there. Again, I'm not fully across it. I've just been like loosely looking into it. Can they rescind Greta? Yeah. Isn't she with the IDF at the moment? Isn't she being detained?
Yeah.
Greta?
Oh, didn't you hear? They all got kidnapped.
Oh,
trying to sail through a military blockade. How many times can you be kidnapped in 1 year, I tell you?
You guys would have seen the video of the IDF soldier going, where's all the aid, the supposed aid that they're trying to smuggle in? Anyway.
I hadn't seen that. That's hilarious.
Really funny. They literally board the vessel and they're in like the under part of the flotilla or whatever. And they're looking around. They're like, where's all the food? Where's the aid? There's nothing there. Nothing there. And it's a pigsty.
Well played. Well played.
Anyway, we can talk about that on Wednesday. But then is also in Czech, a populist billionaire. Of course, it's the Czechs version of Trump, has been elected prime minister or president. I'm not sure if they're a republic or not. And then this one's important. This one really matters to me. Japan have elected what they're calling the Japanese Iron Lady. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Japan, up until COVID, was an ethno-nationalist state. It had very low immigration, and it was very difficult to get residency. And from what I remember, you couldn't buy real estate. I could be wrong. That sort of changed after their last prime minister. And that broke my heart, seeing all of these fundamentalist Islamists coming into Japan. And I watched all these videos. Now, remember, for those who don't know, I grew up there. Japan is very important to me. And I saw these Islamists coming in there saying that, in Japan, they can't get anything halal. And they were demanding that the Japanese change their ways. But also, the Japanese culture is very meek. It's very, very submissive in a polite way. And you don't shout, you don't scream, you're super polite. And when you're catching, say, the Shinkansen or just the JR rail, everyone is regimented, everyone's in a line, it's very polite, you wait for people to get on, unless, of course, you're in the peak hour and then they shove you on. That's totally different. But it's all done in a very polite way, of course. You take your shoes off whenever you go into a property. And, of course, it's a culture clash. And I wasn't aware. I haven't been to Japan since before COVID, but I wasn't aware that they had allowed such migration in from Africa and from Middle Eastern countries. And, of course, it's completely upset the cultural norms there. And so this populist conservative, which, of course, they're calling like Japan's Trump. She's a woman. She's conservative. She's anti all the woke stuff. She's anti-mass immigration. She's anti all the WEF. And she got elected. And I'm like,
Yeah.
thank fuck. Protect Japan at all costs.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm super passionate about that.
So I've seen her described as she makes Georgia Maloney look like a wokie.
Yes.
Which for me, that's a pretty ringing endorsement.
Yeah. You know, for me, I'm just sitting there going like, we need to protect Japan. And like, I'm going to just sort of segue across to what the Taliban did to the Buddhist statues in the Afghan hills, right? We know about that.
Yep.
That was done in what, the 90s when the Taliban first, was it in the 90s or was that during the
It was
ISIS
a little
reign?
while. Was it that long ago? Really?
I'm pretty sure it was done a
Surely.
long time ago.
Hang on. I'm gonna hang on. Hang on. Let me get my fingers in the right place. Taliban blow up statues.
Can you show everyone a photo? Because this is so important.
2001.
Okay.
2001. Let me just turn the audio off on this and then share this tab. Give me a sec. It'll take me a moment to organize. Let me go full screen with that and then come across here and say share screen.
Oh, do I need to remove mine?
No, that's fine. Have we got that there? All right. So this is just a piece of news footage from the time. And yes, you're right, Reg. My camera has not turned off. I found a new setting. I changed the settings. I believe this video will ultimately show the demolition when the time comes. I'm not sure. Yes. Why were you bringing this up, Carly?
So this is an example of ancient, the Buddha's statues were, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, I think it was like thousands of years old. Like it was old, right? Yeah, that's like someone putting a fucking nuke on Abu Simbel or Angkor Wat or Stonehenge, right? So there used to be a Buddhist statue there. Yeah, see, they blew it up. This is outrageous. And if we let unchecked caliphate infiltrate Europe, goodbye all of those beautiful European monuments, goodbye all those gorgeous churches that have stood the test of time. Like, protect this shit at all costs, because that's what Islam does. I'm sorry, and call me a racist, I actually don't give a fuck, right? That is what they do. They try and erase history. They've done it when they've invaded in earlier parts of history. When you look back during the Crusades and before that, what they do is abolish everything that that came before them, and they want to hide it. And like the idea of that happening in Europe, imagine if someone goes to freaking Notre Dame and they're like, nah, sorry, Christianity bad. Let's blow up Notre Dame. The Sistine Chapel.
They already burned it down. Like they burned Notre Dame, and they've had to do a massive restoration project. This is something that a lot of people don't know about, and Trump has begun to talk about it a bit more, and others have begun to talk about it. The number of anti-Christian attacks that are happening relentlessly around the world. In France, it takes the form of a lot of arson attacks against churches. Just about every weekend, there are churches being attacked with arson attacks in France right now. But much more serious, throughout Asia and throughout Africa, we have genuine genocides going on in multiple different places all at once against Christians. And it's the religion of peace, of course. It's that mostly peaceful religion. That's that one. That's doing it, and it's directed at Christians almost exclusively. Although certainly in places like India and other places, it can be directed against Buddhists and others as well. It's quite extraordinary to me. I'm an open borders libertarian. But you enforce your law and you celebrate your culture. And ultimately, if people are not assimilating and blending in, they should end up feeling unwelcome, not because laws are written to make them feel that way. I don't believe that the law is how you solve these sorts of problems, but because at a cultural level, we make them feel unwelcome. We let them know that they're unwelcome. And when they do break our laws, we make sure that they don't just pay the correct price in terms of whatever punishment here in Australia, but we get rid of them. Anyone that is committing violent crimes in Australia should be gone, that isn't an Australian citizen should be gone from Australia. And even some that are dual citizens, honestly, some of them, we should just renounce their citizenship and send them back. Now, for the ones that aren't committing crimes, welcome. Come on in.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't causing trouble. But there are some that absolutely are. And what people are saying, well, we need to stop them from coming in. No, we need to deal with the ones that are actually causing the trouble.
What about the Christians from Syria, the Syrians who now have seen that the ISIS brides have been repatriated back to Australia? What a fucking insult. How disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm going to say the unthinkable. They should be left in Syria to rot. You made the choice to go there. You married one of those barbaric terrorists, and that's it. You're done. You don't get to come back. You don't get to sort of assimilate back into Western culture because you don't like what you signed up for. And this is why I got so triggered before when old mate said don't use the word catatonic. We have to be able to speak about this freely. Stop telling people they can't say the thing that is fundamentally fucking true, and that is Islam and the way it's been rolled out is incompatible with Western culture. And I will die on that hill. Call me what you want. I don't care anymore.
All right, so let's deal with this question, and then we need to wrap up. I can't have a late night tonight. Right. I need my beauty sleep. So speaking on Japan, says CJ Westman, why is demographic collapse worse than replacement? England recovered from the Black Death, but Istanbul will never be Constantinople again. So it's a worthy question. That's a good question. And I agree. Istanbul never being Constantinople again is a tragedy. I would much rather it had remained Constantinople. But then again, Constantine changed it to Constantinople from what it was before that even. So, times do change. In terms of demographic collapse, because we haven't really seen it anywhere in the world, we don't actually understand just how insidious it actually is. What it does is it causes a massive a collapse in the incentives is the wrong word. It causes a reversal in the incentives, and assets become worthless because now you have an oversupply, for example, of houses and an oversupply of, let's say we had the Black Death and 1/3 of the population was killed. Oh, yay, the housing shortage is solved, and the car shortage is solved. We don't have to manufacture things anymore because we've got a plethora of them. Well, unfortunately, what that does is that depresses values very, very rapidly. And one thing that people don't think about is if your house is worth nothing, it's not worth maintaining. And so a population collapse equals decay. One leads to the other immediately. All of the incentives turn on their head and decay sets in. Now, after a couple of generations, yes, if the population starts to grow again, that reverses. But people think, oh, well, if there were less people, there'd be more to go around. No, if there were less people, there would be fewer people maintaining what we've got. And remember the simple formula that I talk about a lot. If on average we make more than we consume, then the world gets richer. If on average we consume more than we make, the world gets poorer. How many people there are is irrelevant. It's whether they're creating excess value or not. And a population collapse reverses the incentives, and people ride on the laurels of the past generation. And so decay sets in, things don't get maintained, things don't get produced and manufactured. So on average, the remaining people actually start consuming more than they're creating. And so now you get a double whammy on the back of that. We see this happening now with in China, where they had that generation that was the one-child policy. Now they've reversed that policy because they realized, oh heck, we've made a mistake here. But you had these grandkids who have two parents who only have one child, who each have two parents who only had one child, and all of that wealth is being concentrated down. There's this bottleneck on that wealth. And you say, well, that must make you superbly wealthy. No, it's actually leading to some real problems in terms of maintaining what they've got. Now, because the government spends the money that it does, blah, 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 they do these wonderful big projects, big train stations, big bridges. You've all seen that social media content in the last couple of days. I'm sure the Chinese Communist Party are spending a fortune pushing that out into Western countries so that we all see these wonderful, shiny new creations that they've made. That's happening. That's true. But also go and land in Guangzhou and walk around the reality of a Chinese person's life and tell me if that's, if that matches the image that you're seeing on TikTok and on social media. Demographic collapse leads to decay because it reverses the incentives. And it is because we haven't seen it in our lifetime, or in fact, even in our grandparents' lifetime, we don't actually understand quite how that works and just how destructive that actually is.
Yeah. And look, there's a lot of people like this sort of saying, I still believe immigration's the issue. I know you and I disagree with that, but I actually think that, we need to stop it at this point because this is just so out of control and out of hand. And we're going to talk about it on Wednesday. I don't want to dilute the conversation now, but my mate, Niab, has come out swinging against the West. And we're seeing plenty of good examples of the populists and the more conservative governments coming out and saying the thing. Like Georgia Maloney was first. She was amazing. What, Niab? What? Don't you wiggle your finger at me, bro. What do you want?
I am sick to fucking death of you being proven right, Carly.
I know.
You banging on about Niab. You banging on about Niab and me being like, oh,
I need everyone to remember that I was Team Niab since like fucking day dot. All right, remember that. Remember that,
were doing
OG
it before it was cool. You were doing it before it was cool. Look, he's not wrong, but again, I am going to raise the same concern with him. So one of the things that he's come out recently is pointing out that these activist judges in the US are trying to stop Donald Trump from doing what he's doing, deporting illegal immigrants and known criminals and this sort of stuff. And these activist judges are getting in the way of him deploying the National Guard to try and deal with some of these cities that are overrun with crime. I think Portland, Oregon was the object of the particular decision that was recently made by a federal circuit judge. And NIAB comes out and says, if you can't impeach your judges, then they just become essentially an unofficial branch of the government and they stop you from being able to do anything. He's correct. But to have a system where the judges are completely beholden to politicians is also really dangerous. And so having one or the other, the whole idea of separating the powers is that none of them are beholden to the other. They can hold each other accountable. Now, this is the problem. We don't. How do you balance that? How do you get them to hold each other accountable without them capturing the other? That's the problem that we've tried to solve with republics and constitutional monarchies and the Westminster system and all kinds of different things that we've tried, and no one's really cracked this yet. So we've got in the US a situation where the activist judges are stopping the elected president from doing what the elected president said he was going to do. But if you give that elected president the power to, for example, dismiss judges, replace them arbitrarily, politically, etc., that becomes really dangerous in its own right. So this is one of those things where, again, NIAB's correct in this particular instance. But as a matter of principle, if we gave Donald Trump that amount of power, then either he or some future president in 60 years' time could use that power to terrible effect. So there's a reason, we have to tolerate a certain amount of clunkiness and inefficiency and treading on each other's toes, because that's going to happen in a system that has safeguards in place.
Yeah. I see the point from your perspective, but I've made this comment 100 times now, but it's beyond arguing policy. I think we need sweeping reform. And just even on the weekend, that a Melbourne judge letting the 15-year-old with the assault charges and the threats to kill go to Europe.
That's madness. That's madness.
It's insulting to our intelligence. But that being said, speaking of Pauline being a top chick, would you be keen to get Pauline on the chat?
Look, I would love to. Pauline has never accepted any of my invitations. She's copped a lot over the years, and she's quite guarded as a result. But I will say, I really enjoyed her. So she was at CPAC and she spoke really well. And she also then gave away a knitted jumper as part of the auctions that they do for the fundraising at the gala dinner. And she got up there and she promoted her knitting and her jumpers as a way of, ginning up the price and getting people to spend more money. And she was freaking hilarious. And it was really funny for me because I'd never seen her in that kicked back, relaxed state before. I've always seen her with her guard up. So I don't know how we would get her to come on, because she's not accepted previous invitations from me to do interviews with me. But if we could get her to just chillax, then yes, absolutely. She was hilarious.
Pauline follows me on IG, and we've met a couple of times, and she's like your best mate's mum from the 90s. Do you know what I mean? She's like the tuck shop lady.
She's awesome.
And yeah, she's lovely. And I thought, of people to get onto this podcast, I'd love to have Pauline, if she'd be confident having, an extended chat, kind of like what we did with David. And obviously sitting politicians, they need to be careful, but they know how to do that. Yeah. She's a seasoned pro. But anyone else you guys think we should have on the podcast, let us know in the comments.
Ooh, interesting.
And whilst you're there, remember, this is your last week to become an OG Oddie. Last week we had a bunch of you guys sign up. I am working on something special for our OG Oddies, because I reward loyalty. And I've got a really cool idea for a new merch piece. I want you to think Grand Theft Auto, but the Oddcast version. Do you know the graphics for Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah. It's actually, I can see how that is a logical extension of the direction you've gone with the retro California games. Blended with Back to the Future. I can see that.
Yeah, so that's the idea, guys. But yeah, if you haven't yet, jump on over there. And big shout out to everyone that jumped on last week. There's a bunch of you guys now. We're really grateful for that. So just so you guys know, because we got told off for grifting last episode, but so those monthly subscriptions now pay for this, which is StreamYard, and StreamYard costs us $90 a month, and it pays for our podcast platform, which now is about $100 a month. And it also is just, it's just nice to not be going negatively into my bank account. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you. That's what it's paying for.
So make sure that you do sign up to Coffee to give us that regular support so that we know that we're actually going to be able to cover, because there are a bunch of subscriptions and stuff that go on. And Carly's been the one paying for those up until now. So when you jump on, you are helping Carly to no longer have to be the one paying for all of those. If you want the merch that Carly designed, you'll find it here. And yes, there's all my stuff there as well. Grab some of that if you want to, but make sure that you grab the Oddcast merch. It does still say pre-sale. I haven't updated the website yet because I'm not good at that stuff, but it is actually shipping. So if you buy it, it will ship and you will get it straight away. Cool.
I would love to get Sargon on. I did reach out to the team, but we're not that big yet, guys. We're just
that's the problem. That's the
podcast.
challenge. We need a lot more growth, and you guys can help us with that by spreading the word, because as we get bigger, we will be able to get more of these sorts of guests. I mean, look, it's amazing. We've got 1,650 people watching on a Monday night live, and then thousands more will watch it later. So we're super grateful. Please don't think that we're anything other than super grateful. But the reality is, for us to start getting some really amazing guests, we need to be 10 times this size, 50 times this size to really start getting great guests.
Yeah. And it's hard because, it's not hard. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's a labor of love. But when you look at our opposition, I guess, if you want to call it that, like punters, Geordies, all those guys, they've had the upwind of being on the current
the
thing.
right side of the algorithm.
Right. So to be fair, we have grown a lot, which is great. And the sort of, the boot's been taken off our neck as far as Meta's being concerned. But when it comes to YouTube, a lot of it is about just introducing people to the podcast. It's that simple. So I appreciate all the new faces too. When we started, I was going through, because I screenshot it every time we hit a little milestone of followers or subscribers. I screenshot. And I found my very first screenshot of the Oddcast, and it was 52. And I remember going, wow, that's cool. So now we're 3,500, which is amazing.
Yeah. So I can remember when I wrote on our bedroom mirror, we weren't long married, and I tried to stop doing the Topher stuff multiple times. I didn't have this ambition to be Topher, the influencer or the political commentator, whatever. I'd done some videos. It was fun. And I was happy to let it die. And it was actually my mother-in-law was like, no, you should pursue this of all people, right? And my mother-in-law says, you should pursue this. And so we wrote the goal on the mirror for me to get to 10,000 subscribers. And that was combined. That was adding up everything, YouTube, Facebook, and I think I had Twitter at the time. I didn't have Instagram or anything else. So you add them all out, and also my email subscriber list, add them all together and get to 10,000. And I remember writing that up and feeling like an idiot because it was such a stupidly high number, as if I was ever going to get to 10,000. And it's so arrogant of me to even think that there'd be that many people would want to even follow my stuff. Well, I think if you did the same thing, if you added it all together now, it'd be something like 350 or 400,000 as things stand right now. I've got about 140,000 just on Facebook. Right, and 115 odd thousand just on YouTube. And so, times change, and it's you realize once you hit your stride, and we've hit our stride. We're doing good content. People want it. Once that happens, the growth does kind of come, but it does take time. And being able to sustain it while that's happening is a challenge. And that's where you guys can help us out, because helping us to grow this particular channel faster gets us to the point where we can get more of those big interviews. And guess what? Those big interviews lead to more growth, and it becomes this self-perpetuating, self-reinforcing upward spiral. So we really appreciate everyone that is spreading the word, but please continue to do so.
And, for all of those who just needed a bit more, I give the people what they want.
No, none of us wanted more of that. None of us wanted that.
I love this comment from Lady Patience. Carl's OnlyFans should just be clips of her on the Jeep. Guys, don't discredit me. I've got great looking toes. I've got great looking toes. So if you want me to go squish them in some bread and some cupcakes, I'm not
I would
above
like
that.
to apologize. I would like to apologize to everybody who has endured this mind-scarring episode of the Oddcast Live. I am so sorry. She did not run any of that past me before. Like, what was it? No. Carly, hang your head in shame.
I am just doing my bit to repopulate the planet. If that's making some blokes horny and they're going to go after their missus, well, then job done. Make babies, people. I've got sound logic, don't I? Yeah, you can't argue with my
I'm
logic.
done. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much.
Well, on that beautiful note.
Yeah. Carl's could help Topher accidentally build a Jeep on OnlyFans. That sounds like an episode. You'll have to talk to G about that one. That's a special order. All right, we're out of here. We're out of
$50, fuck me. I'm like the Hermes, man. You better add some zeros to that. Jesus.
We're out of here, guys. Good people, breakbadlaws.com. Go to the Ko-fi app to support us, and we will see you on
one more super chat
Wednesday.
before we go.
Yeah, I know. I just clicked on it and you did too. I wish I'd taken the Pauline pinball machine Topher. Would have been great, but Steve was a good winner. Absolutely, Joe. I was looking at that as well, thinking the man cave, or maybe in the background of the set. But sadly, I didn't have that many zeros in my name to be able to bid for that. All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for a good chat. It was a long one. See you all next week.
Bye.